Chapter 3169. Su Yun looked at Zhou Shuwen from head to toe. Big boss, is what you said true? If there's a single lie, I'd rather be struck by lightning. Zhou Shuwen answered straightforwardly. Big boss, you're making me embarrassed. If I don't make you the president, I'll feel sorry for my own country. Su Yun was a little amused. This Zhou Shuwen was really going all out. In fact, he was no different from Jigui. It was just that he didn't get the chance to add to the American Empire's chrysanthemum, but Jigui got it. Therefore, Jigui got the power with the support of the American Empire. And now, Zhou Shuwen got the chance to add to Hua Xia's chrysanthemum. If he could get the chance to get the president's throne by adding to Hua Xia's chrysanthemum, then the power would be in his hands. He didn't care what other people thought. Even if anti-Chinese people held up slogans and scolded him for being Hua Xia's lapdog, he wouldn't be angry at all. People were like this. They were called cheap. What do you think of the arbitration? Lin Gu probed. The people of Hua Xia are firmly against this. They will never admit or accept it. Hua Xia's army will unswervingly defend the country's sovereignty, security, and maritime rights. They will resolutely maintain regional peace and stability and deal with all kinds of threats and challenges. Zhou Shuwen said seriously, "Can the arbitration take away Hua Xia's territory?" Definitely not. The islands in the South China Sea have been Hua Xia's territory since ancient times. Hua Xia's territorial sovereignty and maritime rights in the South China Sea should not be affected by the arbitration under any circumstances. These words were beautiful. Lin Gu was very satisfied. He said to Su Yun, "Brother, I think he's 2F** king suitable to be the president of the Philippines. If stealing Jigui's computer can help him, I'll do it even if I have to bet my life." Isn't that too much? Su Yun laughed. Lin Gu gave Su Yun a, "You know what I mean," look. If this could turn the leader of the Philippines into a lapdog of Hua Xia, then it would really stun the U.S. empire. The United States is flaunting their power by leading a group of dogs around China. It's time for China to train some dogs. Let's not consider Sanpang for now, because that teammate of his was too stupid. The Koreans weren't anything good either. They didn't care about Hua Xia's interests at all. Sooner or later, we'll deal with them. Needless to say, the Japanese were the super evil dogs of the American Empire. Other than throwing 2 atomic bombs at them, it would probably be very difficult to tame them. However, Hua Xia could not do such a thing. Although Hua Xia did not talk about human rights, she definitely could not do something like throwing nuclear weapons. It would hurt too many innocent people. The United States could do it. They talked about human rights every day and threw an atomic bomb at the Japanese if they didn't like it. Speaking of which, the Japanese were really despicable. If it were any other country, after being thrown an atomic bomb at, would they still be a dog? It was like having 2 eggs forcefully stuffed into your anus by a bastard in school, causing your anus to rupture. How could you tolerate such a thing? Even if you went to the hospital to take out the eggs, the anus would heal bit by bit over time. Then, when you saw this bastard, would you still smile and bow? As long as it was a human, it was King impossible. They would definitely find 2 duck eggs, and once they had the chance, they would also rupture this bastard's anus. CK. If you still bow and bow after being bullied, then you're not human at all. If you don't even take revenge, what dignity do you have? Now, the Japanese were just clowns without dignity. Clowns. Where is RG's computer? Lin Gu said, "Is there a detailed map?" "Of course it's in the presidential palace." Yoris Schwen said, "As for the room, I can find a way to help you confirm it." Presidential palace? Su Yun, Malacanang Palace? Is that the place rumored to be haunted? Malacanang Palace had been through many wars, and supernatural rumors had caused a lot of commotion among the people. The Philippine Presidential Palace's official website had once introduced the haunted rumors in the palace on the Day of the Dead in 2012. Several presidential guards claimed to have seen the piano playing by itself in the palace's concert hall, and there would be terrifying footsteps at night. There were also people who saw the late President Rojas and Magsaysay smoking cigars in the state banquet hall. There was really no one else in such a theistic country. Their ability to make up lies was really impressive. Piano playing by itself? They didn't even know how to brag. However, anyone with common sense would know that this was definitely an impossible matter. And footsteps. The sound of footsteps anywhere in the middle of the night would be terrifying, okay. But what was really terrifying? It was that there was no sound at all. As for seeing the former president smoking cigars, that was even more impossible. F***ck, a dead person. A ghost. Whose ghost would smoke a cigar? Didn't ghosts come out to scare people? This was the first time they heard of someone smoking cigars. This bullshit really deserved 100 points. I'm not a theist, Jorgensen said. Jolsquin said, but our vice president believes in this. He even said in public that he would rather take Air Force One to and from work every day than live in the Malakanan Palace. Su Yun smiled. This is interesting. Pigeon, are you very interested in that place now? I'm really a curious child. I want to see all the awesome things I hear in my life, but I really don't have the chance to see ghosts, Lingu said. This matter really gives me a chance to see ghosts. Su Yun smiled bitterly. Yes, everyone wants to see it. The presidential palace's official website said that there are ghosts. This matter might be true. Lingu also nodded seriously. Yes, it might really be possible to see it. This won't happen. Jolsquin explained, This is just the president's palace trying to scare the ignorant masses. Many people will feel an inexplicable reverence towards the president's palace after hearing about this. That way, they won't dare to provoke the president's palace. Su Yun nodded and gave a thumbs up. I'll give you guys a thumbs up. You guys are really King smart. You can even think of such a shameless method. Jorgensen was a little embarrassed. This is not a method that I came up with. This is a method that some people with high IQ came up with. At this point, Jorgensen hurriedly said, you can rest assured that there won't be any ghosts. Lingu could tell that Jorgensen was worried that they would not go, so he hurriedly explained. There won't be any ghosts. I'm not interested in going. Jorgensen was stunned, but he could tell that the other party was deliberately teasing him, so he remained calm and did not say anything. Big boss, if you want us to solve this problem as soon as possible, then we have to prepare now. Su Yun said, I need to get the internal structure of the presidential palace as soon as possible, the map of the guard points, and the patrol schedule. These things are very important. Jorgensen nodded seriously. I will solve this problem immediately. Trust me, I won't let you guys down. Then you have to trust us, big boss. We won't let you down either. Lingu said, however, you have to keep your word. If you have the chance to become the president, don't be a dog of the American empire. The most basic thing between people is trust. Jorgensen nodded seriously. I promise. I won't mix with the people of the American empire. I've long hated their hegemonism. If the people of the American empire came to his casino to gamble and refused to admit their loss, he could not say anything. Once he wanted to make a move against the scoundrels of the American empire, Ajitsue would keep pressuring him, warning him not to provoke the American emperor. If he provoked the American emperor, he would suffer. As long as he could oust Ajitsue, he would not have to care about those messy things anymore. He wanted power, the greatest power. Even if he had to use the entire South China Sea in exchange for this power, he would not hesitate. He did not care about those islands and reefs that did not belong to the Philippines. As long as he handled the relationship with Huaxia well, Huaxia would benefit a lot. Everyone knew that Huaxia was a generous country. These islands and reefs were not so much important to the Philippines as they were to the American empire. Jorgensen did not want to mess with Huaxia's territory. He only wanted power and benefits that belonged to him. That was enough. Chapter 3170. Malakanan Palace was definitely a good place. It was the presidential palace of the Philippines. The people of the Philippines called it the residence of the nobles. It was the highest administrative center. Even though the presidential palace had a history of 200 years, the exterior architecture was still quiet and beautiful. It was a typical Spanish architecture and had an artistic feel to it. This noble place was located on the north bank of the Baisha River. It had the presidential office and residential building, the presidential administration building, a large garden, and the residence of the presidential security force. Every president of the Philippines was in power there, holding state meetings, receiving foreign heads of state and high-level officials. It could be said that this was the central representative of the Philippines. While Jolshwin was working on the internal structure and the patrol schedule, Su Yun and Lin Gu had already arrived outside the presidential palace. They said that they wanted to take a look at the scenery, but in fact, they wanted to take a look at the traffic in this place. If they were to do something here, how to escape as soon as possible, and how to plan the route, these were all very important. Therefore, Su Yun and Lin Gu had to take a look first. As long as they could steal Jigue's computer, they could let the Philippines fight each other. This was definitely a very good deal. Ever since Jigue took office, he had caused a lot of trouble for Hua Xia. Now, it was Su Yun's turn to teach this B***start a lesson and give him a headache. To be honest, Su Yun did not have a good impression of this four-eyed dog, Jigue. Not to mention anything else, just look at his appearance. Many Hua Xia netizens had said that they did not care about political issues and did not understand Jigue's character. However, when they accidentally saw his face on the internet, they almost vomited. Wasn't he too disgusting? Just looking at him made them want to vomit. There was no need to describe it. Disfigurement was equivalent to plastic surgery. Especially when that broken face grinned, it was as if he had been constipated for a month. It was as disgusting as it could be. Su Yun really felt that this guy was quite stupid and had a problem with his IQ. Su Yun was originally a person who was very opposed to personal attacks when discussing politics. However, Su Yun couldn't help but want to beat him up every time he saw news about a GD or his actions or comments. In the end, it could only be attributed to G's IQ problem. If there was no problem with Chicky's intelligence, then there must be a problem with his morals, his values, and his view of history. In the end, it would be flattering to say that he had a problem with his intelligence because he was an idiot, a pure one. This big idiot could say anything. He even dared to call Hua Xia a pervert during his speech. This guy was truly speechless. If there was anyone who was the most perverted person in the world, it would definitely be this coward. He had a perverted face. She really wondered if he was a ghost born from his father and a sow. "Brother, why do you think this coward is so stupid?" Lin Gu suddenly said, "This guy doesn't use his brain at all." "Why do you say that?" "Su Yun, this dog is so annoying." Lin Gu shook his head. "I thought about it carefully just now. This guy is simply *King Spy. In RG's first term, he took the initiative to cause trouble in Huangshe Island. Originally, our two countries were at peace in the South China Sea. If the Philippines didn't take the initiative to cause trouble, Hua Xia wouldn't cause trouble either. In the end, everyone saw that Huangshe Island, which could only be claimed by the Philippines, is now in our hands." Su Yun was stunned. That makes sense. If a country's president loses his territory during his term, he will generally be removed from office, right? If it was a country like Japan that was more stupid, the person in charge would probably choose to commit seppuku as an apology, right? Of course, Abe's grandson is smarter than a pig. He definitely won't commit seppuku. Lin Gu said and shook his head. That's right. No one would have thought that Jigue would be able to use a few bananas and mangoes to dissipate the nationalistic anger in the country. He even won a second term with a high number of votes. His tactics are simply unparalleled in the Philippines. Lin Gu said, "He is forcing us to make a move." What arbitration? Even a fool can understand that as one of the 5 permanent members of the United Nations, Hua Xia won't care about a meaningless court decision. Then why do you think he did this? Su Yun smiled. After listening to Lin Ji's words, he was even more suspicious of RG's IQ. He only has one purpose, and that is to force Hua Xia to make a move. Lin Gu said. The development of the situation was just as Ji III had predicted. Under the provocation of his stupid IQ, Hua Xia directly announced that the 8 islands currently controlled by the Philippines were Hua Xia's territory and asked them to leave immediately. Now that you mention it, even I feel that Ji Gue is a guy who loves Hua Xia deeply. Everything he does is for the sake of Hua Xia. Su Yun said, if that's really the case, isn't he too great? TSK, I'm afraid this fool doesn't have the IQ to do so. Lin Gu smiled bitterly. If the United States knew that they had such a stupid teammate, wouldn't they be so angry that they would cry? Stupid teammates are inevitable. Hua Xia also couldn't avoid Ji's actions. Su Yun, the United States definitely can't avoid Ji's actions. It's just like how you can't play League of Legends without encountering stupid teammates. This is unavoidable. Lin Gu agreed with Su Yun. This is necessary. I guess the United States doesn't have much confidence in him. Su Yun, let him step down early. Maybe the United States can't stand it anymore. Lin Gu chuckled. Brother, don't you think it's interesting to watch them fight each other like dogs? Let's take out Ji's computer first, then we can sit and watch the good show of the dogs fighting each other. Su Yun, tonight, let's think of a way to give them a chance to fight each other. Lin Gu nodded. He couldn't wait. He liked this kind of thing. It was exciting. In another hotel room, Stinging Ant and Jin Zhongshuo were watching the news on TV. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. If he knew that Hua Xia would be so strong, he wouldn't have gone to the Philippines to hide. Now, the Philippines made a big deal out of showing off. Hua Xia was really going to make a move, and the Philippines was terrified. Not to mention the Philippines, even the United States was just putting on a show for the sake of their reputation. Did they really dare to touch Hua Xia? What a joke. At most, the United States could bully some countries in the Middle East. If they really dared to touch Hua Xia, the Hua Xia people would fight with their lives. It was as if they didn't have nuclear weapons. Moreover, Hua Xia had the Russian Empire behind them. Regardless of whether the Russian Empire really wanted to help Hua Xia, one thing was for sure. Things that didn't benefit the United States would benefit the Russian Empire. Therefore, the United States could be sure that the Russian Empire would stand on Hua Xia's side no matter what. Everyone was a superpower. Who would act cool in front of whom? So what if the Russian Empire didn't help? Hua Xia could take care of this herself. If modern warfare was to be fought, no one would have the upper hand. However, the soldiers of Hua Xia and the United States were different. Who do you think will win? Stinging Ant asked calmly. Jin Zhongshuo was stunned. Based on the news from the Philippines, it seems like the United States has the upper hand. However, I feel that Hua Xia isn't that easy to mess with. Yes. Hua Xia isn't that easy to mess with. Stinging Ant smiled. Even the Americans know this. However, they still have to put on a front for the sake of their reputation. I guess the United States is bleeding from the heart now. War burned money. Hua Xia could afford it. However, the United States might not be able to afford it. The price that the United States had to pay for showing off was huge. The cost of the aircraft carrier group was huge. The United States, a country that relied on war to make money, might really lose money this time. Therefore, they might not be able to laugh. Hua Xia's military exercise was a show of force. It was thrilling. No one was willing to do something that was suicidal. If the United States really dares to enter 12 nautical miles, the missiles will really be fired. Stinging Ant smiled bitterly. We came to the wrong place this time. Chapter 3171. Jin Zhongshuo didn't feel anything about this. To him, war didn't matter. Even if his home country was at war, he wouldn't feel anything, let alone other countries. If there was someone in the Sacred Flame mercenary group who was more concerned about this than the Stinging Ant, it would definitely be Tu Zibai. Tu Zibai was Chinese. Even though he hadn't lived in China for many years, he was still quite concerned about Hua Xia. This might be a common trait among the descendants of Yan Huang. They would always have feelings for their country no matter where they were. What a ridiculous farce! Tu Zibai sneered. The stinging ant was stunned. He smiled and asked, "Why do you say that? America's aircraft carrier has already arrived in Southeast Asia. The plane can enter Hua Xia's airspace at any time. With how shameless the Americans are, it's normal for them to say that the plane had a small problem and, accidentally, flew in. They won't do that." Tu Zibai said, "Although the Americans are hegemons, they aren't idiots. They won't initiate a war for two dogs. If the Americans really do make a move, it can only be attributed to Little Ma's incompetence." The stinging ant's face showed a mocking smile. "Two dogs?" "Yes." Tu Zibai said, "Anyone with a discerning eye can see that the United States is holding a Japanese dog in one hand and a Filipino dog in the other. The two dogs are howling at Hua Xia. Then do you think Hua Xia will be worried that the two dogs will suddenly bite?" The stinging ant asked with a smile. Tu Zibai shook his head. "Hua Xia isn't worried about this problem at all." "Why?" The stinging ant looked at Tu Zibai in confusion. "No matter how obedient the dogs are, they're still animals. Animals have the temperament of animals. What if? There's an old saying in Hua Xia, 'A dog that barks doesn't bite.' This is the result of thousands of years of experience." Tu Zibai said, "Those who remain silent will instead suddenly bite, and those who clamor every day will usually only clamor." The stinging ant was stunned. Tu Zibai continued, "It's the same with humans. Sakano-kun is the one who likes to bark the most in our team. Every time it's time to fight, he'll be the first to back down." "This? I don't think so." After all, the sting ant was the captain. He couldn't deny his own member. "He will still carry out my orders." Tu Zibai nodded. "So, Sakano-kun really represents his country. Without the orders of his master, he only dares to bark and not bite." The sting ant was speechless. Sakano-kun was indeed such a person. Everyone in the world knows that the United States likes to show off their dogs. Tu Zibai smiled. "But it may not dare to provoke Hua Xia. Hua Xia is not a small country without power." The spiky ant nodded. "Long live peace. It's impossible for there to be eternal peace in this world." Jin Zhongshuo was a person who didn't like to talk, but he couldn't help but say, "There will be a Second World War if there is a First World War. If there is a Second World War, there will be a Third World War. A big country bullying a small country won't have a big impact, but if there is a conflict between big countries, then a world war won't be far away." Tu Zibai said calmly, "Then why did Korea agree to let the United States deploy the THAAD anti-missile system in Korea? This has nothing to do with me. This is a stupid decision by the higher-ups." Jin Zhongshuo didn't defend his country. The sting ant's comment was simple. Korea is stupid for agreeing to let the United States deploy the THAAD anti-missile system in Korea. It's stupid for the United States to forcefully deploy the THAAD anti-missile system in Korea. This is obviously targeting Hua Xia. Even an idiot can see that. Everyone knows that the peninsula where Korea and North Korea are located is a very small and narrow area. It's useless to deploy the THAAD anti-missile system. This is obviously not targeting Korea's regime, but Hua Xia. Tu Zibai nodded. Korea approving the deployment of the United States THAAD anti-missile system is really a stupid decision. Not only can they not save themselves, they will also anger Hua Xia. Many Hua Xia people probably didn't understand the danger Hua Xia was in. Perhaps because of some reasons, there wasn't enough publicity. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that other than foreign enemies in the East China Sea and the South China Sea that threatened Hua Xia's territorial waters, they were also threatened by the THAAD anti-missile system. Deploying the THAAD anti-missile system in Korea was equivalent to pointing a gun in front of Hua Xia. This was definitely the prelude to the Second Korean War between the United States and Korea. It was equivalent to secretly declaring war on Hua Xia. After the THAAD anti-missile system was deployed, the security environment around Hua Xia would completely deteriorate. There would be no more barriers. P.S. This may be nonsense, but even if I get scolded for nonsense, it's worth it to let more people know about the country's crisis. Why do you say that the THAAD anti-missile system is useless? Clarice suddenly pushed the door open and came in. Why don't you pay attention to what you're saying? I can hear you clearly from next door. Clarice entered the room and sat down. She looked at them with an expectant expression. Clarice didn't know anything about these things. She also never cared about these international disputes. Anyone with a bit of military knowledge knows that deploying an anti-missile system in a narrow area like the Korean peninsula is useless. The Soviets don't use missiles. They can hit the capital of Korea with only their rocket launchers. Kim Jong-shuo came from the army. He was an expert in military matters. The United States deployed the THAAD anti-missile system in Korea solely to target Hwasea. Xiang Zhuang's sword intent lies in Paegong. Tu Zibai said lightly, the THAAD anti-missile system's X-band radar can make it impossible for Hwasea's troops hidden in the western highlands to hide. The security system built by Hwasea for decades may be destroyed. Sting Ant also nodded. After deploying the THAAD anti-missile system, in a sense, the United States has already secretly declared war on Hwasea. The danger involved is something 80% of Hwasea's citizens don't feel. Clarice's expression was one of disbelief. She was like many people who heard and saw these words and said they were bored. They felt that this was a big fuss. After the Soviet Union disintegrated and changed their ideology, the United States still didn't give up. They pressed on step by step. They also surrounded and suppressed Hwasea's highly market-oriented economy. All of this shows that this is no longer a battle of ideologies. It is a battle of hegemony and anti-hegemony. It is a battle of subversion and division. It is a battle for the survival of the country and the people. Tu Zibai said. As a Hwasea citizen, when he said this, he still felt a bit guilty. At a time like this, he was still stealing national treasures for his own benefit. He was really shameful to be compared to those brave warriors who will return if called to war. Grandpa Mao had said a long time ago that the imperialists would never give up on their desire to destroy the country. He had long called for the people of the world to unite and defeat the imperialists and all of their reactionaries. Now, it seemed like such a wise and great judgment. You Hwasea people are really stupid. Clarice shrugged her shoulders at Tu Zibai. If it were me, I would have boycotted Jin Jongshua's country a long time ago. And you Hwasea people still chase after celebrities. Starting from hot 20 years ago, to the recent years, Xiaoxian, Min Gao, Zhong Qi, Quan Chi Chong, how much money have they taken from Hwasea? Jin Zhongshua looked at Clarice with a flat gaze. Clarice explained embarrassedly, I'm not targeting you. I'm not saying that you are an ingrate. I'm just saying that those brainless fans of Hwasea threw all their money to you Korean celebrities to pay for Korea's tax. Korea took the money of those brainless fans and made weapons to help the United States deal with Hwasea. It's ridiculous. Tu Zibai also shook his head helplessly. Indeed, not many Korean celebrities could go to the United States to steal money, but as long as they came to Hwasea, they could steal money from a group of brainless fans, especially those brainless ones. One moment, Xiaoxian was her husband, the next moment, Min Gao was her husband, and the next moment, Zhong Qi was her husband. There was no lower limit to their IQ. Therefore, men in Hwasea were much more rational than women. Men would never be brainless because of women like Ji Xian, Hui Qiao, Xin Hui, and Yuner. At most, they would waste a little time on the internet to look for seeds of similar tragic events in the Korean entertainment circle to see if there were any of them. If there were, then at most, they would have to work hard. If there weren't, then even a little strength of the Qilin arm would be wasted on their own door incident. Keep the goodies within the family. Chapter 3172. Jin Zhongshua said calmly, Now is not the time to talk about Korea. Korea didn't really do anything against Hwasea. For something like this to happen, it can only be said that Korea's leaders are too stupid. They were scared out of their wits by Mao Zedong. Yes, after all, no one can guarantee what Mao Zi will do. Even Hua Xia can't guarantee that Mao Zi won't randomly fire missiles. The stinging ant said, so, in the final analysis of this matter, Hua Xia can only blame Mao Zi, this pig of a teammate, for creating the missile threat, which gave the United States Empire a perfect opportunity to control Hua Xia. Alice exhaled. Hua Xia must be drunk to have such a teammate. The third fatty is actually very innocent. He thinks that he can really arm wrestle with the hegemony of the world just because he combed his hair like an adult and put on a handsome suit. Tu Zibai said, really, so innocent. When the few of them talked about Mao Zi, they couldn't help but laugh. Only people who lack confidence like to shout loudly, just like how poor people like to brag about their wealth. Tu Zibai said again, authoritarian governments will eventually perish. Governance that violates the will of the people and human nature is extremely laughable. The stinging ant didn't care about Mao Zi at all. It's better to let this kind of person fend for himself. We really don't have the time to care about Mao Zi now. We just hope that the dispute in Nanyang can be settled as soon as possible. Alice shook her head helplessly. If war really breaks out, we will really be the victims. The stinging ant felt a headache when he thought about this problem. I just hope that the Philippines will lower their heads and admit their mistakes as soon as possible. Hua Xia may not have an advantage over the United States Empire, but if they want to destroy the Philippines, it's simply too easy. Khalees nodded. Yes, if they really do throw 2 nuclear weapons, we'll all suffer. Hua Xia is not a country like the United States that talks about human rights every day but does not respect human rights. Tu Zibai said, Hua Xia wouldn't do such a thing to harm the innocent, and he would never invade. Even for an ungrateful country like you, they first begged Hua Xia to attack France, then begged Hua Xia to attack the US Empire, and then turned around to bite Hua Xia. Hua Xia didn't invade and destroy you country. Alice shrugged. If it weren't for Hua Xia, Vietnam might have been completely assimilated by our colonization. The stinging ant smiled. Being merciful to the enemy is being cruel to the people. If Hua Xia could be more ruthless, they would have taken over the place. Now, you country wouldn't be blindly complaining about Southeast Asia. Tu Zibai shook his head helplessly. Who asked Hua Xia to be so particular about etiquette? That's why the United States has never been particular when it comes to doing things. Jin Zhongshuo said, if it's beneficial to them, they will definitely fight for it. Who cares what other people say? Condemnation is meaningless to them. This was how shameless he was. Hua Xia is too shy and cares too much about other people's opinions. The United States is innately not particular when it comes to doing things. Tu Zibai said, we can see it from Victor. We can also clearly see Joyce's disdain and contempt for Victor. The English's disdain for the United States has already seeped into their bones. The stinging ant smiled bitterly. Joyce's disdain for Victor was something that every one of them could clearly feel. As everyone knew, the United States Empire was originally a colony of Great Britain, and the first immigrants from England to the United States Empire were mostly poor people at the bottom of society, as well as persecuted Puritans. The real English aristocrats would not go to that uncultivated land. At that time, there were only indigenous Indians on the land of the United States Empire. The people who went to the United States Empire were all inferior people that the English aristocrats looked down on and despised. To a certain extent, this established the English's antipathy towards the United States Empire. Moreover, in the 16th century, the English would often exile criminals to the United States Empire, which was still in the wilderness. They simply treated the United States Empire as a garbage dump. Everyone could see that the English did not think highly of the United States Empire. In terms of customs and culture, the United States developed a new culture. It was different from the aristocratic culture of the England. It was a melting pot culture, where people from all over the world could be assimilated. The worst thing was that the United States Empire's country bump-like behavior was absolutely unacceptable in the eyes of the English aristocrats who thought that they were the noblest in the world. A long time ago, the United States Empire usually only used steel forks to help cut meat. When eating, they could directly eat with their hands. If the English aristocrats saw this, they would vomit immediately. This kind of long-term rejection would take many, many generations to erase, right? The scenes of the English aristocrats depicted in books such as Pride and Prejudice and Vanity Fair were very classic. The way they behaved and talked in the aristocratic social circle still existed in the modern English aristocratic society. Although Joyce was a member of the Sacred Flame mercenary group, he was also an aristocrat. However, his ancestors were only the most ordinary barons among the aristocrats. England's inheritance tax was high. After his great-grandfather died, his grandfather died, and his father died, he had nothing to inherit. It could be said that the little bit of land in his family was taxed. But even so, Joyce was very particular about it. To the real English nobles, wearing clothes from the so-called luxury brands was a shameful thing. The real aristocrats looked down on the luxury goods in the eyes of ordinary people. All the clothes were custom-made by the handmade workshops that had been used by their ancestors. Joyce's family had a lot of clothes left behind by his father. It was not that he did not have the money to go to the handmade workshop to make new clothes, but for him, some of the clothes left behind were a kind of glory for him. After all, he was also from a baronial family. Although the aristocratic circle did not know about him, because he did not even have a horse. For the aristocrats, horses were a necessity. Otherwise, it would be difficult to participate in social activities. For the aristocrats, it was necessary to play eventing, which was the comprehensive equestrian competition. That was called elegant and awesome. Take a look at the football, ice hockey, and basketball that the United States played. To the aristocrats of England, these were very barbaric. The sound of muscles colliding against each other was not pleasant to them at all. Every time Joyce carried out a hunting mission, he would compare his mission to fox hunting. This was also a sport that belonged only to the aristocrats. A comfortable life in the countryside, a noble attitude to show off, the joy of hunting, the heroic mood of eliminating evil for the people, and the opportunity to have a short flavored romance with a good-looking country girl. Fox hunting was an irresistible tradition of the upper class since ancient times. I think if Victor says anything at this time, it will definitely make Joyce unhappy. Clarice said, "Captain, you should hold a meeting. Don't let things get out of hand. It will be too late if things get out of hand." Thorny Aunt nodded, "Fine. I think so too. Let's calm our own people first. Don't cause unnecessary trouble before things are over. It will be too embarrassing to cause unnecessary disputes." Tu Zibai did not say anything. He did not want to see Victor and Sakanokuan's faces now, even if he had not returned to Huaxia for many years. Thorny Aunt stood up. "Let's go." Chapter 3173. Zhouxuan had already secretly given Su Yun the layout of the entire presidential palace, the time the guards would patrol, and the wiring of the surveillance cameras. With these things, the entire presidential palace was basically exposed in front of Su Yun and Lin Gu. Su Yun and the others also had some gains because the former presidential office and accommodation building of the Philippine presidential palace were tourist attractions to the outside world. Although the location of these tourist attractions would not affect the presidential office and national affairs activities, it was still quite ridiculous. They did not understand why the Philippines had to learn from the United States before September 11th when the country was in such a mess. The White House was open because there was enough security. Now that there was too much hatred in the world, they did not dare to be so casual. The presidential palace of the Philippines was not the same. It was still open to the public, so Su Yun and Lin Gu went to take a closer look. Although it was open to the public, Ajitsue knew very well how unstable his country was. Therefore, the entire presidential palace was heavily guarded. The fully armed guards of the presidential palace would carry out strict checks on every tourist who entered the palace walls. Outside the walls of the presidential palace, there were lush trees. The white walls and black iron gates were very eye-catching under the bright sun. Inside the walls of the presidential palace was an extremely beautiful tropical forest. Beautiful flowers bloomed on the tall trees. There were red and yellow flowers, gorgeous and dazzling. The boulevard was made up of tall coconut trees. It was very obvious that it was a tropical charm unique to Southeast Asia. The lush foliage of the trees covered the white building, but this was not Su Yun and Lin Ji's target tonight. Since they were already there, they had to make the show complete. If they turned around and left as soon as they saw that it was not Ajitsue's place of work, it would definitely arouse the suspicion of the soldiers. Su Yun and Lin Gu followed a few tourists and slowly walked over. From the outside, this building looked like a very ordinary two-story building. It had white walls and a red roof. There was nothing special about it with its arched floor-to-ceiling windows. However, after entering the palace, they were amazed by the magnificent hall. The four walls were decorated with masterpieces of oil paintings and portraits of past presidents of the Philippines. There were all kinds of special furnishings and rare antiques. The large living room overlooked the spectacular Manila Bay and the quiet flowing Baisha River. This is the legendary place where the former president and his wife lived. Lin Gu said, "Isn't this 2F** King extravagant?" Su Yun could not help but sigh. It was indeed extravagant. This place could be called a palace. As soon as they entered, they saw 3 giant chandeliers made up of hundreds of small light bulbs shining in all directions, illuminating the reception hall. In the middle of the hall was a carpet that was 40 to 50 meters long and 20 meters wide. It was a hall where a grand ball was held. The two of them passed through a small door on the left side of the hall, which led to a long passageway. From here they could enter a study. In the corner of the study room was a gun rack with 6 automatic rifles and ammunition. There was a card on the desk that said, "My dear, those who know you will find that you are an increasingly great hero. To me, my family, and even the entire human race, you will always be Superman. I love you with all my heart." It's quite romantic. Lin Gu said, "I really don't understand what a G means by exposing the former president's life in front of everyone. This way, people will think that he is the best leader." Su Yun said, "This method is really ridiculous. Any tourist who visited this place would be shocked. The extravagant life of the former president and his wife and their strange behavior were simply shocking. There were oil paintings of the former president and his wife hanging on the wall. The former stood shirtless in the bamboo forest, while the latter floated on the sea. It was said that this represented Adam and Eve in the Philippine mythology. On the dressing table in the bathroom of the former president's wife, there were all kinds of French perfumes. The sink she used was plated with a layer of pure gold. The couple each had a bedroom, and the door was written King's Bedroom and Queen's Bedroom. The former president's bedroom was almost a small hospital. There were oxygen tanks, folding beds, medicine, and extremely sophisticated dialysis equipment everywhere. There were colorful T-shirts hanging by the bed, and there was a BMW car toy in the bedroom. It was said that this toy car was worth tens of thousands of dollars and was given to his grandson by the former president. This old man must have been in a lot of pain before he died. Lin Gu shook his head. Sometimes, people are just so unlucky. Su Yun said, although he became a local tyrant, he still endured the torture and died in the end. Men, no matter what they do, they can't overdo it. Once they overdraw their body, they will suffer in their old age. Lin Gu laughed. Brother, how much do you think the old Chinese doctor in Huaxia said that, if you don't nourish your body at 40, you will suffer in your old age, make sense? Su Yun touched his chin. It makes a lot of sense. If you don't have a good body, you should nourish your body early. The former president's bedroom was not an exaggeration, but in the former president's wife's bedroom, the large bed alone was enough to shock everyone. It could fit 20 people. He really didn't know what kind of tricks this woman could play. It was even bigger than the average house in the Philippines. She wants to go to heaven. Lin Gu shook his head in amazement. The extravagant life was simply unbearable to look at. As the former leader of the country, she actually took the money of the people and enjoyed it like this. The people were still living in an abyss of suffering. The living standards of the citizens of the Philippines can't improve because of this. Su Yun sneered. With such a person ruling the country, it would be strange if the citizens could live well. Now you know why people support Aji even though he did such a bad job, right? Lin Gu nodded. I know. Because his predecessor was even worse. This was the madam's bedroom. The ceiling was carved with flying angels. All the furnishings in the room were very luxurious. The only incongruous thing was the oxygen tank by the bed. This madam inhaled oxygen every day before she went to bed. It was said that this could keep her young forever. She inhaled oxygen like air. Rich people. Of course, this was not the only thing that shocked Lin Guo even more. When Lin Guo walked into the closet, he really felt that he had mistakenly entered a high-end fashion store. These were the clothes that the former First Lady had to leave behind when she fled. Yes, she had to leave them behind. There were 2,000 pairs of gloves, 3,000 pairs of leather shoes, 2,000 small bags, 5,000 pairs of shorts, 500 nipple caps, hundreds of pairs of socks, and hundreds of exquisite clothes made by European fashion masters. Of course, when the former president fled, they did not board the plane empty-handed. The American Empire customs officers in Hawaii carefully checked the prominent couple's luggage and found that they had brought nearly 30 kilograms of gold bars and more than 20 boxes of jewelry with a total value of millions of dollars. Of course, this was just a small amount of money. This was because the former president of the Philippines had accumulated no less than tens of billions of dollars abroad by stealing from the country. It was equivalent to the budget of the Philippines for 3 years. In New York alone, the former president owned a large piece of Long Island and 5 buildings in Manhattan. Among them were the famous 71-story skyscraper at 40 Wall Street and the shopping mall at 5th Street Herald Square. Just think about what the old couple had done to the Philippines. Jitsue could so easily fool people into supporting him because there was a comparison. Therefore, the dirty things that Jitsue had done behind the scenes were unknowingly erased by people. Now you know why the former president's place is open for tours. It can only be said that the current president is very scheming. Su Yun sighed. It's all a trap, full of negative energy. Lin Gu smiled bitterly. It doesn't matter if it's a little more scheming and a little less sincere. Su Yun pouted. Now I understand why such an ugly man like Jitsue can have so many women around him. As the president here, he can covet so much money. There are so many women who love money. Lin Gu said, they must all want to be like the former president's wife, who can decorate the place where they poop with gold. Let's go. There's no point in staying here. We won't come here tonight. Su Yun waved his hand. Let's go over there and take a look. Lin Gu nodded and followed closely behind. Chapter 3174. However, the place Su Yun wanted to go was not open to the public. The soldiers immediately stopped the two of them and asked them to go back. Although they did not gain much, Su Yun and Lin Gu had figured out how to enter the presidential palace and where Jitsue's office was located. The two of them also figured out the security deployment points outside the presidential palace. This was very important to whether the two of them could successfully complete their mission at night. After visiting the presidential palace, Su Yun and Lin Gu returned directly to the meeting place designated by Jolshwin. Now, the entire Philippines was very nervous, and the sense of crisis was very strong. Therefore, as a figure at the center of the country's power, Jolshwin's behavior was also very important. He secretly came to meet Su Yun. Now, there were various meetings all day long. Jitsue was also afraid. He was worried that he would really offend Hua Xia. If Hua Xia really got angry, he would really be a coward. Could he really expect the U.S. Empire to help him? Jitsue was not a fool. He knew that the U.S. Empire did not really want to help him. They were just using him. The more pressure Jitsue was under, the more irritable his temper became. Now, he often yelled at the parliament and vented his resentment on others. This was also the reason why Jolshwin did not want to go to the meeting. He really did not want to see Jitsue's disgusting face. The place Jolshwin found was very hidden. After Su Yun and Lin Gu arrived, they were immediately brought into the room by his trusted aide. Big boss, it's really hard for you to take time out at this time. Su Yun smiled. Where did the two of you go? To be honest, I was really worried. Jolshwin said, although I also want to get the computer as soon as possible, I am more worried about your safety. Lin Gu said disdainfully, "Don't you know where we went? You arranged people to follow us all the way. We are not fools. How can we not feel it?" Jolshwin was a little embarrassed, but he did not explain too much. "I hope the two of you can understand that no matter what I do, it is for your safety." "Big boss, don't beat around the bush," Su-Yun said. "We're going so that our operation tonight can go smoothly." Jolsquin nodded. "I know. I have also found all the information you need about the presidential palace. I also hope that you can have a smooth journey." After that, Jolshwen took out the blueprint of the presidential office building. Lin Gu took it and opened it immediately. This piece of information was truly precious. There was a map of the entire Pavilion Lord Manor from top to bottom, and even the distribution of the drainage pipes and ventilation pipes were clearly indicated. There were also all the monitoring points. All the surveillance cameras rotated 360 degrees, so it was almost impossible to find the blind spots of the surveillance cameras, which undoubtedly added to their difficulties. Lin Gu suddenly scolded. "F***CK, are you kidding me? The room marked in red is our G's office that we are going to enter. The computer is under the surveillance of 4 monitors. Even if we calculate the time difference, we can't calculate the time of the blind spot. There is no blind spot at all." Su-Yun also took a look. That's right, this surveillance map was too scary. It was as if telling them that any of their actions would be under surveillance. This was an impossible task. "Big boss, can you find a way to cut off the surveillance?" Su-Yun asked. Jolsquin shook his head. "That is impossible. The people in the monitoring room are all our Jigue's trusted aides. I can't control or order them." "Then what is the point of stealing?" Lin Gu felt that this matter was too ridiculous. Jolsquin said, "There is one thing you don't know. Ah Jigue doesn't like his privacy being seen by others, so the 4 monitors in his monitoring room are cut off. It is convenient for him to do anything in the office without leaking any information. The monitoring room is full of his people. What is he worried about?" Lin Gu felt that this matter was strange. "You don't know, but Ah Jigue is not married yet. He likes different women and different places. His office is one of his favorite places. So..." Jolsquin said, "Some men don't want to be watched when they do something." Lin Gu was stunned. This guy has such a hobby. This is an open secret in the circle of power. Jolsquin said, "The surveillance in Ah Jigue's office is meaningless." Su-Yun nodded. "I understand. It is a deterrent effect." "Yes." Jolsquin said, "Because Ah Jigue is a very suspicious person, he completely cut off the surveillance line so that there is no possibility of his privacy being leaked." This guy's sense of self-protection was really strong. After all, the internet was now developed. The fanatical pursuit of this kind of small video by netizens was also very scary. If there was any possibility of it being filmed, it would definitely leak out. Even if the people in the Philippines did not have this ability, the netizens in Huaxia could directly break through the firewall of the Philippine presidential palace and steal the video. At that time, the entire WeChat circle would become popular. However, this was not necessarily true. After all, Ah Jigue was too ugly. Perhaps many people would vomit when they saw him. He might not become popular. However, the impact was obviously bad. No matter how bad Ah Jigue was, he was still the president of a country. Therefore, no matter what, Chicken Coward had to be extremely careful. Otherwise, his name as the president would become famous all over the world. Su-Yun smiled. Fortunately, Ah Jigue had such a thing. Otherwise, he would not have found an opportunity. Lin Gu nodded thoughtfully. "In that case, as long as we can avoid the surveillance and enter his office, everything can be solved." After pausing for a while, Lin Gu pointed at the surveillance deployment map and said, "Look at it yourself. How many surveillance cameras are there? At a glance, you can't count them. There are so many of them. Even an ant would find it difficult to go in without being discovered. We can't determine when the cameras will turn. It will still be difficult for us to enter." "There's a simpler way." Su Yun suddenly pointed at the ventilation map. Lin Gu was startled. Brother, this is too low class, right? If we go through the ventilation, it's beneath our dignity. We can only do this now. Be careful. Su Yun, the surveillance cameras are machines. As long as we are patient, we can definitely avoid all of them. However, there is one thing we have to consider, which is the security points. When the surveillance cameras and the security guards are combined, we will be in big trouble. But there's still a chance, right? Lin Gu asked. Su Yun nodded. Yes, there's still a chance. Lin Gu still did not want to go through such a weak ventilation channel. That would not show their strength. Even if it was a small thief, as long as they found the ventilation channel, they would have a chance to solve the problem. There was no need for them to take action. There is one more thing we need to consider, which is the mobile security patrol team. The timetable is here. You can see it for yourself. It takes 15 minutes and 20 minutes to alternate. However, if we want to avoid the numerous surveillance cameras and security guards, going to the office on the second floor for 20 minutes is clearly too dangerous. Lin Gu finally understood what Su Yun was worried about. It was this mobile security patrol team. This uncertain factor would cause the situation to become a serious threat. Su Yun and Lin Gu only had one chance. This relationship was very important. Thus, Su Yun did not want to take the risk. Once they failed, they would not have a second chance. Without a second chance, they would disappoint Yoris Sherwin. When that happened, Yoris Sherwin would only ask Su Yun to assassinate Ajinku. However, Su Yun's principles did not allow him to do that. Thus, he could only use the first method to solve this problem. He wanted to give Yoris Sherwin a chance to bite Ajinku, forcing Ajinku to step down. He wanted to give Yoris Sherwin a chance. Therefore, for this point, Su Yun was willing to put down his status and face to go through the ventilation channel. I understand, brother. What we need to deal with today is the external surveillance points, the patrol team, and the fixed security points. Lin Gu said, this is much simpler. Although it looks simple, we still have to be careful. After all, this is the presidential palace. Su Yun smiled. Chapter 3175. Zhou quickly reminded him, you must be careful. The soldiers in the presidential palace are all elites carefully selected by the Philippines. They are not ordinary soldiers. Lin Gu pursed his lips. He still had a look of disdain on his face. You call them elites? I'll give you 2 words. Ha. You can tell just by looking at your special forces. Zhou frowned. I can understand that you are young and frivolous. However, if you are so arrogant, I'm afraid I won't trust you. Oh. Lin Gu was stunned. He knew that Zhou words were directed at Su Yun. Brother, did you see that? You still don't trust me. The special forces of the Philippines are also carefully selected by the police. The whole world knows how lousy they are. Su Yun just smiled at Lin Gu and said seriously to Zhou, Big boss, I know my own people. My own brothers won't cause me any trouble. You don't have to worry. I am very pleased that you have such confidence, Zhou said, but I have no other way out. Su Yun smiled but didn't say anything. Yoris Shuen didn't try to hide it anymore. Can I have another request? I can almost guess what you want to say, big boss. Su Yun, if you really want to take such an extreme step, I'm afraid it will be very difficult for you to take the position. You know what I want to say? Zhou was stunned. If I can't get the computer, you want me to get rid of Ji? Su Yun said calmly, am I right? Big boss. From the moment you met me, you wanted me to do this for you. Isn't that right? Zhou didn't need to deny it, because killing him is the safest way. Killing him will only allow the vice president to take the position. It won't do you much good. Su Yun said, but if you take him down, it'll be different. You'll be in that position. Even if you let the vice president sit in the highest position, it would still be better than my current situation, Zhou said. I have no complaints. Su Yun shook his head. But I do. You have it. Joel Squin was stunned. He looked at Su Yun in confusion. He really couldn't understand what Su Yun could complain about. Since we're friends and we've reached so many agreements, if you can't be the president, then wouldn't everything I've done be for someone else? Su Yun said, I will only help people who are friends with me. I won't help a person who doesn't have a reason. Big boss, don't worry. I will get what you want. Joel Schwinn took a deep breath. All right, I believe you. It was late at night. The moon in other countries wasn't round. Because of the cloudy sky, the crescent moon could only be vaguely seen in the night sky. Most of the time, the moonlight was hidden in the thick clouds. People couldn't see anything in the dark. The streetlights in the Philippines were very, very dark. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't even be able to see people running in the dark. The surroundings of the presidential palace were different. It was brightly lit. Su Yun and Lin Gu couldn't find a place to stop. Even so, the two of them still found a small path in the bushes. The mosquitoes in the subtropics were really vicious. The mosquitoes were as long as fingernails. Their bodies were the color of black flowers. They looked terrifying. Not many people could withstand being bitten by such a giant mosquito. Although it was already late at night, the guards patrolling the presidential palace never stopped. Especially outside the presidential palace, 3 patrol teams would appear every 1 or 2 minutes. It was difficult for Su Yun and Lin Gu to seize the opportunity. The two of them hid like this. Lin Gu was a little anxious. A mosquito bite was a big red packet. These guys have no fun. Why are they still patrolling at this time? Lin Gu couldn't help but complain. Su Yun gestured for him to be quiet. Then, the footsteps got closer and closer. Another patrol team left from the bushes where they were hiding. When the footsteps were far away, Lin Gu couldn't help but say, Brother, how long are we going to wait like this? If we really can't do it, we can just get rid of them. If you want to alert the enemy, then go ahead and do it. Su Yun said, but I guarantee that once you alert them, you won't have another chance to steal the computer. Lin Gu shook his head in annoyance. The footsteps were approaching again. The footsteps in front of them were far away, and the footsteps behind them followed. During this process, they could only say 1 or 2 sentences. When the patrol team was far away, Su Yun said, Don't worry. They will let down their guard. We can only be patient and find an opportunity to solve the problem smoothly. Lin Gu nodded. He could only listen to Su Yun now. No matter what order Su Yun gave him, he would absolutely obey. Even if he had to feed the mosquitoes here for the whole night, he would absolutely have no complaints. At this time, he was Su Yun's most reliable helper. The two of them stayed in the bad bushes for more than an hour. Finally, the interval between the patrols slowly decreased from 1 to 2 minutes to 7 or 8 minutes. There would always be times when people relaxed. As the patrols relaxed, Su Yun and the others could basically find enough time to act. When this patrol team leaves, we will act immediately and prepare to enter the presidential palace courtyard. Su Yun said to Lin Gu, You must hold your breath and concentrate. Don't disturb anyone. Su Yun and Lin Gu could boldly enter the presidential palace because of a very good condition. Jigue hated his own kind, which was dogs. Therefore, there was not a single dog in the presidential palace. If there were more than a dozen dogs, Su Yun and Lin Ji's actions tonight would be even more troublesome. Lin Gu nodded and was ready at any time. However, things were always full of changes. After the patrol team came, a guy suddenly stopped. You guys go first. I need to relieve myself. This place was the blind spot of the presidential palace's outer wall. There were no surveillance points. I also need to relieve myself. Another person said, I drank too much water just now. I can't hold it back. Then the two of you should hurry up and follow. The others continued to move forward, not waiting for the two guys. Don't let the people behind you catch up and see you. If they report you, we will all be punished. Don't worry. I won't let them see. Su Yun and Lin Guo looked at each other and saw that the patrol team had walked away. The two guys who stayed behind began to unbutton their pants while facing the wall. Su Yun did not hesitate to change the battle plan and gave Lin Guo a hand signal. Lin Guo immediately understood Su Yun's meaning. The two of them had a tacit understanding. Just after the two of them finished relieving themselves, Su Yun and Lin Guo suddenly appeared in the bushes. Before the two of them could react, they directly went forward and knocked the two of them unconscious with a karate chop. Without saying a word, they took off their clothes and threw them into the bushes. The footsteps behind them were getting closer and closer. Su Yun and Lin Guo had no choice but to hide in the bushes again. After the patrol team left, the two of them quickly entered the presidential palace wearing the guards' clothes. This was definitely much safer for them. At least if they were seen, they would not be exposed immediately. As long as they were far away from others, it did not matter most of the time. Moreover, the presidential palace was brightly lit. It was very easy for them to be discovered wearing their own clothes. However, it was different after changing into the guards' clothes. They could stand openly under the lights. The brighter the place, the safer it was. This was also the meaning of the saying, "It's dark under the lights." Their faces would be illuminated very brightly by the lights, and no one would be able to see them clearly. Everyone would only see the clothes. After stealing the clothes, the two of them had to solve the problem as quickly as possible. Otherwise, when the patrol team noticed that their people had not appeared, it would definitely cause a commotion. Su Yun's action meant that he had the idea of ending the battle quickly. The patrol team in the presidential palace were all in pairs, so Su Yun and Lin Guo did not even need to avoid the surveillance cameras. The only thing they had to guard against was the surveillance cameras at the entrance of the presidential palace. The long and tedious plan of taking the ventilation tunnel was also promptly abandoned by Su Yun. Lin Guo was very excited. He liked this kind of excitement. When Su Yun waved his hand, he immediately rushed out of the bushes with him and directly jumped over the high wall of the presidential palace. Chapter 3176. Finally, the patrol team's vigilance was quite high. The captain of Team 1 saw that his men hadn't caught up, and he had doubts in his heart. But he didn't dare to make a fuss about this kind of thing. If it caused panic and disturbed the president, he couldn't afford it. The captain of Team 1 couldn't help but scold, "Two bastards, procrastinating when doing things." At this time, they didn't hurry up. They will be fined a month's salary. These words were obviously for the others to hear. It was to cheer them up because the president said that now was a special time. They must be ready for battle at any time. At any time, people from other countries might secretly enter the presidential palace to assassinate him. So, Ajinu didn't hesitate to add 2 more patrol teams. Just when the captain of Team 1 was angry when he rested, the people of Team 2 came back. When Team 2 came back to rest, Team 1 had to continue patrolling. This was the arrangement here. The captain of Team 1 was a little confused at this time. Even the people of Team 2 came back, but those 2 guys didn't come back. The captain of Team 2 suddenly said to the captain of Team 1, "Captain 1, can you control your people and not let your people urinate and defecate everywhere?" When the captain of Team 1 heard this, he glared, "Captain 2, you better hand over my people. Otherwise, I won't be polite to you." "Captain 1, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by your people?" The captain of Team 2 was puzzled. "What does your people have to do with me? Why would I hand them over? Then why do you say that my people urinate and defecate everywhere?" The captain of Team 1 was very sure that it was Team 2 who caught his people. "Are you kidding? When we walked to the road just now, there was a pungent smell. Wasn't it just left by your people?" The captain of Team 2 glared and said to Team 1, "Say it. Which one of you urinated?" With that said, the captain of Team 2 stood up and pointed at Team 1 with a stern face. The captain of Team 1 pushed away the hand of the captain of Team 2. "Don't yell at my people. My people won't be affected by this." The captain of Team 2 still wanted to say something, but he suddenly realized that there were 8 people in Team 1. Their team had 10 people. How could there only be 8 people in Team 1? Where did those two guys go? Team 2's captain suddenly realized, Team 1, why are you still missing 2 people? It's working hours. How can you let your people leave their posts? Don't you know what kind of crime this is? So you came prepared. The captain gritted his teeth and said, Where did you hide my people? Speak. Captain 1, are you trying to bite back at me? The captain of Team 2 was confused. How would I know where your people went? Me hiding your people? Is it necessary? Didn't you want to use this opportunity to frame me? Team 1's captain said, Humph, let me tell you, that's impossible. Your little tricks can't escape my eyes. Stop talking nonsense. The captain of Team 2 said, I don't have time to waste my breath with you. Now that we're back, you should take your people and leave. Don't slander me. Good. You win. The captain of Team 1 said, Let me tell you, it's not so easy for you to frame me. At most, neither of us will be happy. Are you crazy? The captain of Team 2 was completely speechless. He didn't want to waste his breath with him. The captain of Team 1 snorted and left with his people to continue patrolling. All of you better open your eyes wide, especially the place where the 2 of them are hiding. Open your eyes wide and see where the second team is hiding our people, the captain of the first team said angrily. Yes. Seeing Team 1 leave, the captain of Team 2 had a look of disdain. He spat and scolded at the rest point. Who the F***ck do you think you are? Even if you want to frame people, you can't frame them like this. What an idiot. The people of the 2 teams didn't like each other. No one thought about the situation of those 2 guys who peed. Captain, I think Captain 1 saw that you were more valued recently, so he deliberately wanted to find trouble for you. Someone said to Team 2. The captain of Team 2 sneered, He wants to find trouble for me? He lost his own people, so he should think about how to solve his own problems first. The people of Team 2 laughed. Yes, yes. If he can't even keep an eye on his own people, then he's useless as the captain of Team 1. That's right. When the time comes, he will be dismissed. We will fight for him to be a soldier of Team 2 and serve our captain. Well said. Just like that, we welcome Captain 1 to Team 2. Ha ha ha. What Captain 1? He'll be a new bee when he turns back. We have to teach him a lesson. Only when everyone was happy talking, the captain of Team 2 felt better. At this time, the people of Team 1 were also very angry. The second captain's words made them focus their attention on him because of the smell of urine. The second captain didn't see anyone urinate, but he smelled it, which was why he said those words. However, in the eyes of the people in the first team, he saw this scene, which was why he attacked their brother. Did you see how smug the second captain was? The captain of Team 1 said fiercely, I didn't expect him to dare to make a move on our people. He's just looking for trouble. Captain, as long as we find our brother, we can sue him. Someone added, we must not let him get away with it. That's right. Captain, we have to make him admit his mistake. It's best if he can be dismissed as a normal patrol soldier and come to Team 1. Brothers, let's teach him a lesson. Yes, yes. Let him know the consequences of offending Team 1. Even a small patrol soldier in the presidential palace was fighting for power. One could imagine the corruption in the Philippines. It was simply exuding negative energy from the inside out. Stop talking nonsense. Finding him is the most important thing for us. The captain of Team 1 ordered. The people of Team 1 came to the place where the 2 people separated from the group. Sure enough, they smelled a very pungent smell, but even so, the captain of Team 1 endured it. Find him. He must be nearby. Everyone in Team 1 spread out. Their speed was quite fast, and they soon widened the distance between them. After 5 minutes of searching, there was nothing. You bunch of trash. Are you stupid? Why would Team 2 throw him on the road? The captain of Team 1 was a little angry. Go and look in the bushes. Everyone had no choice but to endure the mosquito bites and directly entered the bushes. Suddenly, someone in the bushes screamed. Everyone's attention was focused on that direction. Here. Here. Both of them are here. The guy who found the two people shouted wildly. From the bushes, the two people who had their jackets taken off were still unconscious. Su Yun and Lin Guo were really ruthless. If they couldn't make sure that they were unconscious for 2 hours, then it would have been a waste of effort. Their faces, arms, necks, wherever they were exposed, were full of mosquito bites. They were unrecognizable. A few people worked together to carry the two people out. The two people didn't wake up even after Team 1 slapped them a few times. Other than breathing, they were no different from dead people. Damn it! What did Team 2 do to them? The captain of Team 1 was completely angry. At this time, because Team 1 stopped to look for the two people and wasted patrolling time, Team 2's people happened to come over. Seeing this scene, Team 2's people were also full of suspicion. Second captain. You bastard, you actually knocked my people unconscious and threw them into the bushes. Today, I will explain it to you clearly. The captain of Team 1 pulled open his collar. Do you want to fight? Team 2 was also unhappy. This matter had nothing to do with him. I don't King understand what you are saying. If you want to splash dirty water on me, then I will accompany you. Don't think that you have a strong background and strength. When the two people met, the smell of gunpowder completely exploded. Okay, since you look down on me, then I won't talk nonsense with you. Do it. The captain of Team 1 didn't say anything and pounced forward. The two people instantly wrestled into a ball. Chapter 3177. A scuffle between the patrols of the presidential palace could be considered big news. After the two captains started fighting, their subordinates unceremoniously rolled up their sleeves, looking aggressive as if they were going to fight against each other. Because of the rivalry between the two captains, the people on both sides seemed to have gone crazy. They desperately bit each other. Every time they threw a punch, they wanted to beat the other party into pieces. The crazy group fight lasted for 10 minutes. It was not until the third team patrolled here that they desperately separated the two sides. Because the first team was short of 2 people, they suffered a big loss in this confrontation. Not only were the members of the first team bruised and swollen, even the captain of the first team was beaten up by the captain of the second team. Many times, people relied on momentum to fight with others. As long as there was enough momentum, everything would go smoothly. If there was not enough momentum, it was easy to lose a fight. The captain of the first team lost because of momentum. The loss of 2 people had a great impact on their team's momentum. The captain of the third team separated the two with difficulty. Are the two of you crazy? This is the presidential palace. We are all on duty. Aren't you afraid of losing your jobs by doing this? Of course I'm not afraid. Look at what he did to my people. The captain of the first team angrily pointed at his 2 subordinates who were almost eaten by mosquitoes and said, "They are still unconscious. If it were you, would you be able to endure it?" Bull*T. The captain of the second team spat. "If I touched your people, I will die a horrible death. Don't throw mud at me." The 2 of them were about to fight. The captain of the third team saw that he could not stop them and hurriedly said, "If you are like this, someone will have to give you a fair and just judgment. It's not a good idea to continue fighting like this." But how could the 2 agitated people listen to others? Now that the 2 of them were extremely emotional, it was impossible for the captain of the third team to suppress the 2 of them. Have you ever thought that if this alarmed the president, you will be sentenced directly? The captain of the third team raised his voice. The president has been working hard because of the problem in Nanyang during this period of time. You dare to disturb him? Just because of such a small matter? These words caused the 2 captains to slowly calm down. They would never dare to disturb the president if they were to disturb anyone. If there's anything, let's go back, sit down, and talk about it calmly. The captain of Team 3 said, "You still have to arrange for people to patrol. You can't delay your work. Someone will definitely give you a fair trial. Then let's go back and find someone to give him a fair trial." Team 1's captain said, "Third captain, as you can see, my 2 men are still unconscious. You have to be my witness." The captain of Team 2 also said, "Third captain, you saw how shameless he was. He crippled someone himself and then blamed it on me. How interesting." All right. No matter who is right or wrong, there needs to be an answer for today's matter. The third captain said, "Let's not argue now. Let's go back. Let's go back first." Both of them raised their heads confidently, confident that they would receive a fair and just trial. The 2 of them caused all the guards in the presidential palace to focus their attention on them. Everyone was curious about who could make such a big commotion in the middle of the night. They were also curious about who would win in the end. Everyone hoped that the captain they had a good relationship with would be the final winner. Under such circumstances, Su Yun and Lin Gu were given a lot of opportunities. These opportunities allowed them to avoid all the threats from the guards. They only needed to avoid the surveillance equipment and they could easily sneak into the presidential palace's office building. The office building was already empty. The staff of the Philippines were not like the civil servants in Huaxia who were often busy until 3 or 5 o'clock in the morning for the sake of the people's happiness. Although some Huaxia civil servants might be busy at the dining table, KTV, or even nightclubs, it was still very hard for them. After working so much at night, they still had to solve the problems of the people who had treated them yesterday. They had no choice but to do something for them. Therefore, the civil servants of the Philippines were much more fortunate than those in Huaxia. They did not have so many social activities. The civil servants of the Philippines had already gone home to sleep at this time. Although the office building was brightly lit, there was no one in sight. At this time of the Huaxia, all the units must have turned off their lights to save energy and protect the environment. Although some civil servants might still be working hard in the office, like old cows reclaiming muddy land, they still felt carefree. It was their great fortune to be able to serve the people. A few days ago, in a unit in charge of public culture in Yulin City, behind an exhibition stand, facing the camera, a man and a woman appeared hand in hand. The man was even wearing a uniform. The 2 of them looked around and saw that there was no one around. Without any precaution or hesitation, the civil servant suddenly lifted the female lead's skirt and attacked her. Then they started. Let's just say, serve the people. The scene was too beautiful to be described with words. Perhaps the female lead was too thirsty at this moment and asked the civil servant for help to quench her thirst. After a few hurried moves, the female lead found a camera and reminded the civil servant who had started serving the people without even taking off his clothes. Both parties stared at the camera for a while, then hurriedly retreated and left the scene. Doing this kind of thing in public might be against public morals and social ethics, but civil servants who served the people also had feelings. When their feelings were strong, they would immediately want to serve the people immediately. It was understandable that they couldn't control themselves. The male lead was wearing the work uniform of the unit. He should be at work or on duty, but he actually secretly served the people in the corner of the unit. It really created a good image of a civil servant. For a comrade like this, the Commission for Discipline Inspection should strictly investigate, find out who he was, expose him, praise him, promote him, and increase his salary. After all, on such a hot day, he wanted to serve the people without even taking off his clothes. It was really too touching. If it were a normal person, they would definitely not have this awareness. In order to serve the people, he did not even have time to take off his clothes on such a hot day. What a selfless spirit. Shouldn't the Commission for Discipline Inspection take out this spirit and make a special topic? Let the other civil servants learn from this spirit. Anyway, the civil servants of Huaxia were working overtime at the unit at this time, but none of the civil servants of the Philippines were in the office at this time. Therefore, Su Yun felt that the civil servants of Huaxia were more reliable than the civil servants of the Philippines. Su Yun and Lin Gu, one in front and one behind, smoothly entered the floor where the president's office was located. Although this took a lot of time, the people outside did not notice them for a long time. A group of carefully selected guards of the presidential palace really did not have much higher IQ than their special police. Most of their IQ stopped at the first stage of puberty. The people outside were still arguing about this trivial matter, but Su Yun and Lin Gu had already quietly sneaked into the president's office. The door of the president's office was not locked. Perhaps Ji's self-confidence was too strong, and he did not believe that anyone would dare to directly enter his office. Moreover, he was quite confident in the security work of the presidential palace. He really regarded his guards as omnipotent watchdogs. Little did he know that his guards were really just very ordinary watchdogs. These watchdogs only needed to throw a bone to attract all the attention. Su Yun and Lin Gu did not even throw a bone, and the watchdogs found that a bone was attracted away. It made people completely speechless. When Lin Gu entered the president's office, he felt that it was a little unbelievable. Su Yun's figure also flashed in. Before the surveillance camera turned to the door, he closed the door. Even after entering the room, Su Yun had been calculating the time in his mind. Every second was very important. This was related to where the camera turned when they went out. Chapter 3178. After Lin Gu entered the office, he stared at the camera for more than 10 seconds before he confirmed that the 4 camera equipment in the room were fake. There was no reaction at all. Do it. Su Yun was particularly calm. They were in a hurry, but he still took his time to solve all the problems step by step. Lin Gu was a little careless. There was no computer on Jigui's desk at all. Looking around, he didn't find any computer. Brother, there's no computer. Lin Gu said, that Jolshwin wouldn't be playing with us, right? Su Yun frowned. If Jolshwin really dug a pit for them, then they would really be in a huge crisis. If they were caught by the president's palace at this time, Jigui could make a big fuss by relying on their identity as Huaxia people. After all, the relationship between the two countries was very tense now. At this critical moment, Su Yun couldn't just mess around. But if Jolshwin did that, it would be stupid. This was his opportunity. How could he personally bury his own opportunity? Look carefully. Don't worry. The more critical the moment, the more cautious we need to be. Su Yun said, maybe it's in some inconspicuous corner. Lin Gu carefully began to search the entire president's office, but he still didn't see any computer. Brother, no, I've already searched everywhere. Lin Gu smiled bitterly. It's this room. We can't have gone to the wrong place, right? Su Yun sucked in a breath of cold air. This was a bit tricky. The room couldn't be wrong. Looking at the size and layout of the room, the furnishings on the table, it was obviously the style of the president's office. Jolshwin wouldn't mistake the president's office. Now that the computer wasn't in this office, there was only one possibility. The things in the computer were too important, so Jigui would carry it with him. If he went back to the bedroom to rest, he would also take this valuable thing with him because there was an unspeakable secret inside. Thinking of this, Su Yun felt relieved. It seems that Chicky is not as retarded as we thought. He knows what can't be placed in a place that he can't see. Lin Gu was stunned. Bro, you can't be saying, this guy took the computer away, right? Carry it with me? You're such a hipster? If there's something in your computer that can ruin your reputation, I believe you'll carry it with you, right? Su Yun said indifferently, no one wishes for their weakness to fall into the hands of others, especially if it's a fatal weakness. Lin Gu nodded. That's right. If it were me, I would also bring a computer with me. I didn't expect Yoris Shwen to know Ji so well. He knows that Ji has an unspeakable secret on the computer. Su Yun. At first, I was worried that even if I stole the computer, there would be nothing valuable in it. But now it seems that there is indeed something important in Ji's computer. Lin Gu also nodded. If there really is evidence that can completely overthrow his power, then we'll have made a big profit. Su Yun smiled. The one who will make a big profit is Yoris Shwen. If he can get hold of Ji's weakness, then Ji will be finished. Not only will he be able to escape from his dangerous situation, he will also be able to gain more support from the public. Yoris Shwen is the one who will benefit from this, Lin Gu said. This is too easy for him. Who told him to be so lucky? Su Yun shrugged. This is also an opportunity for us. At the very least, Yoris Schwen will help us wholeheartedly for the sake of profit. Bro, I realize that everything is within your control, Lin Gu said. Su Yun smiled bitterly. I don't have Zhuge Wulong's ability. If everything is within my control, then we wouldn't have come to this damned office and ended up empty-handed. Lin Gu also expressed his helplessness. There's nothing we can do. This is the target that Yoris Schwen gave us, and we are not familiar with this place. Now we can only think of a way to sneak into Ji's bedroom, Su Yun said. Lin Ji's expression was slightly troubled. This is much more difficult than I thought. If we can't get Ji's computer, then we won't have any bargaining chips. Su Yun, if Yoris Schwen doesn't have the ability to overthrow Ji, then we will have played for nothing. Lin Gu nodded seriously. No matter what, I have to get the computer back today. Su Yun gave Lin Gu a look. When I count to 5, open the door. Immediately go out to the right. Don't stop after you go out. Go to the intersection and turn right. After you turn right, the point between the second and third door is the blind spot of the surveillance camera. Do you understand what I mean? Lin Ji's heart jumped. He was very nervous. 1. Su Yun had already started counting down. Although he had thought of many things and problems during this time, he did not forget the timing and pattern of the surveillance camera. 2, 3, 4, 5. As soon as Su Yun finished speaking, he pulled open the door. Lin Ji's figure flashed out like a bolt of lightning. Immediately after, Su Yun closed the office door and went out. The two figures sped past and disappeared into the corridor in an instant. The two surveillance cameras outside the president's office rotated slowly. Although they could capture the entire corridor, they could not catch up with Su Yun and Lin Ji's ghost-like figures. Huff, huff, huff. Lin Gu gasped for breath. He looked at the surveillance camera above his head and laughed bitterly. Brother, you are crazy. You dared to take such a risk. If we don't take risks, we won't have a chance at all. Su Yun, be careful. What we are about to do will be even more dangerous. Oh my God, I just like the thrill of it. Lin Ji's forehead was covered in sweat, but he wasn't lying. He really did like the thrill of it. Su Yun pouted. Then I'll give you the thrill. Later, when you go in to steal the computer, you can do it yourself. That will be more thrilling. Brother, don't tease me. Lin Gu said, I'm not as good at calculating as you are. Just now, we were in the room for so long, but you were able to predict when we would not be caught by the surveillance camera. I was prepared to gamble my life from the beginning. You can even calculate this. We can't afford to gamble at this time. If we could, I would be willing to calculate. Su Yun, unfortunately, we only have one chance. If we are caught before we get the computer, we will have completely failed. Lin Gu laughed dryly. I promise I will never think of this kind of luck again. It doesn't matter if you have a little bit of luck occasionally. Fortunately, you are not stupid enough to put it into practice. Su Yun also smiled helplessly. I can't do anything to you. Later you just have to follow me. Don't think of this kind of thing again. Lin Gu nodded. Su Yun was still puzzled about one thing. Why was there no sound from the guards patrolling the room? Little did he know that almost everyone's attention was attracted by the captain of the first and second team of the outdoor patrol team. The captains of the two teams did not budge an inch. Both sides were reasonable. However, the most important witnesses were still unconscious. Cold water was poured directly on their heads. The two guys whose faces were swollen from mosquito bites did not open their eyes. Su Yun and Lin Gu carefully walked to a window. They looked up and saw many people gathered together. The two people who were knocked unconscious were lying in the crowd. Their faces were pale and they looked like fools. It seems that there is less and less time left for us. Su Yun said lightly. Once these two guys wake up, we will be in trouble. Lin Gu also frowned. Brother, What are we waiting for? Let's do it now. Soo-yoon nodded. Let's go. Use the fastest speed to get the things. We have to get the computer at all costs. It doesn't matter even if we startle RG. Do you understand what I mean? Lin-gu nodded heavily. I understand, brother. The two figures flashed through the presidential palace like lightning. Outside the courtyard of the presidential palace, a group of guards was still arguing without noticing. Chapter 3179. Take your time with this matter. Speak one by one. The patrol captain's expression was also very ugly. He gestured for the two of them to lower their voices. Even if the president's palace had good soundproofing, and the president's room had perfect soundproofing, the captain was still worried that the sound of their argument would disturb the president. However, the two captains did not seem to think that their actions were reckless at all. Head captain, listen to me first. Here's the whole story. The captain of Team 1 began to explain. The captain of Team 2 was naturally unwilling. He spat, and before the captain of Team 1 could speak, he threw out a sentence first. Since ancient times, the wicked complain first. Then you speak first. I'll let you speak first, okay? I think I'm right, so I'm not afraid of you at all. No matter who speaks first, you're the one who schemed first. The captain of Team 1 said angrily. I'll let you speak first. I don't want to be the wicked one. I think you're guilty. The captain of Team 2 said. All right, since you're guilty, I'll speak first. I'm not guilty, so I'm not afraid of the ancient saying of the wicked complaining first. I'm not a wicked person, so I'll speak first. The captain of Team 1 cursed in his heart. This bastard actually dared to play dirty with him. Are you playing with me? Do you really think I'm a fool? The captain of Team 1 did not care whether he was a wicked person or not. He glared. I should be the one to speak first. The captain of the patrol team was furious. He glared at them and roared, Shut up, both of you. Whoever I tell to speak, speak. If the one who doesn't speak dares to speak, I'll immediately order someone to sew his mouth shut. After shouting angrily, the patrol captain regretted it in his heart. He was worried that his voice would alarm the president. Although their Ajigue slept like a dead pig and could not be woken up by the sound of firecrackers outside, his roar really scared Soo-yoon and Lin-gu, who had already found the corridor where Ajigue's bedroom was. The patrol captain was frightened for a while. Seeing that nothing was wrong, he lowered his voice and anger. He pointed at the captain of Team 1 and said, You speak first. Speak quickly. Tell me the main point. I only listen to the main point. Don't talk nonsense about those messy things. The captain of Team 1 seized the opportunity and said without hesitation, Yes. Head captain. Just now, one of my men fell behind when he was patrolling. He was knocked unconscious by the second team and thrown into the bushes. Look, head captain, look at how badly my men were bitten by mosquitoes. Team 2's leader wanted to explain, but when he thought of the head captain's words, he shut his mouth. Angering the head captain at this time was obviously a very unwise choice. I'm F*King telling you, you bastard, listen carefully. If this is true, if it's the truth, I'll definitely give you justice. I'll let everyone in the second team have a taste of this. The patrol captain said, But if you make up the truth, I'll make you pay for it. The captain of Team 1 hurriedly nodded and said, Everything I said is the truth. Head captain, you're so perceptive. Tell me, is what he said true? The head captain of the patrol team looked at the captain of the second patrol team. Head captain, don't listen to him. He really made it up. It's all nonsense. The captain of the second team said, I don't know why he did this. He would rather sacrifice 2 of his men and throw them into the bushes to frame me. I didn't. The captain of Team 1 shouted. The captain of Team 2 seized the opportunity and said, Head captain, when you didn't ask him to speak, he spoke. He didn't care about your order at all. The head captain of the patrol team stared at the captain of Team 1 and said, Do you not want your mouth anymore? I'm sorry, head captain. The captain of Team 1 wanted to explain, but he didn't know how to explain. He could only blame the captain of Team 2 and said, "Just now, the head captain asked me to speak, but he didn't say that I can't speak." The captain of Team 2 snorted and said, "You only know how to take advantage of loopholes." The head captain of the patrol team was particularly annoyed. He was very dissatisfied with the captain of Team 1 and said, "Then you shut up now. From now on, don't say a word to me. Before I ask you to speak, don't let me hear any sound other than breathing." The captain of Team 1 was helpless, but he didn't dare to make any resistance. The captain of Team 2 took the lead in this confrontation without any gunpowder. "Head captain, I don't know why he framed me, but I don't care. If he wanted to frame me, there are many ways. There's no need to sacrifice 2 of his men." The captain of Team 2 was moved. "If it were me, I would never do this." "Why?" the head captain of the patrol team asked curiously. The captain of Team 2 said nonsense seriously, "Because I think, as the captain of a patrol team, the most important thing to him is his own men. If he can even use his own brothers, then he really doesn't have any morals at all." Although the captain of Team 1 wanted to curse in his heart, he didn't dare to do so because of the head captain's dignity. "Head captain, no matter what your judgment is today, I will accept it." The captain of Team 2 continued, "If I was framed by a villain, I have nothing to say. But what I can't tolerate is, my men will be punished with me. They didn't do anything wrong. I hope that even if the head captain wants to punish me, he won't implicate my men." The head captain of the patrol team slapped his thigh and said, "Good. What an affectionate and righteous person." The captain of Team 2 showed a smile on his face. Once again, the captain of Team 1 cursed in his heart. This was 2F** King Intolerable. "Captain, come out." The head captain of the patrol team shouted. The captain of Team 1 immediately stood up and said, "Yes. Head captain, please instruct me. What else do you have to explain?" "If there's nothing to explain, then I'll tell you now. Listen carefully, from now on, you can get lost. Don't be a captain anymore." Hearing this, the captain of Team 1 felt as if he was struck by lightning. Isn't this too arbitrary? The head captain's decision was too hasty. "Head captain, please don't fire Captain 1. He's also a loyal person." The captain of Team 2 quickly said. The head captain of the patrol team was stunned. "Oh, what do you mean?" "I think that although Captain 1 is wrong, it's not a principled mistake. I hope the head captain can give him a chance," the captain of Team 2 said. "Even if you give him a chance to go down to the grassroots level, although Captain 1's character is problematic, we, Team 2, won't despise him. My men will try their best to reform him." These words were spoken with a sense of righteousness. The captain of Team 1 gritted his teeth. The captain of Team 2 said it against his will. It was extremely disgusting. Listen to this. The head captain of the patrol team sighed. "Captain 1, can you have 20% of Captain 2's awareness? Can you do your job well? Can you solve the problem beautifully? Can you take a good look at how the people around you are doing?" "Head captain, I'm sorry. What about you? If you were really a righteous person, you wouldn't let your men make such a sacrifice." The head captain of the patrol team said. "Look, they are all brothers in the patrol team. What happened to those who followed you? What happened to those who followed others?" Hearing this, the captain of Team 1 really wanted to cry. "Head captain, don't be so decisive. Give me a chance. I believe that as long as my men wake up, everything can be explained. Then, everything will be clear to you." "Your men wake up? Are you sure that others will speak up for you when you treat them like this?" The captain of Team 1 shook his head. "No, it's not a good thing. This is to prove a fact. I definitely didn't do anything to my men." "All right. I can't be bothered to listen to your explanation." The head captain of the patrol team said, "I'll give you 10 minutes to wake your men up. Let them tell me." This is your only chance. If they tell me that you treated them like this, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Chapter 3180. While the patrol team was in chaos, Su-Yun and Lin Gu had already found Ji's room. Although there were more than a dozen rooms in this corridor, Su-Yun easily made the correct judgment. The door in the middle of the two rooms with the widest distance between them must be the door of the president's room, because theoretically, this room would be the largest. Moreover, this room's door was the only one with direct surveillance equipment. At first, Su-Yun and Lin Gu were also worried about how to sneak in, but soon the two of them found that this surveillance was the same as the one in Ji's office. They were all just decorations and had no meaning at all. This time, Su-Yun was even more certain. It seems that Ji really doesn't like his privacy being spied on. Even such an important surveillance at his door has been cancelled. Lin Gu smiled bitterly. Brother, if it were me, I would definitely go crazy. Why do you say that? Su-Yun asked. Think about it, living under so much surveillance every day, who wouldn't go crazy if they were in that situation? Lin Gu shook his head helplessly. Even if he is the president, he should have privacy. I kind of sympathize with Ji. Su-Yun nodded. If you really sympathize with him, then come with me to expose him. After he steps down, he won't have to endure this kind of surveillance anymore, right? Lin Gu laughed. Brother, this is really a fallacy, but I like it. I like that you can say this kind of fallacy with a straight face. Now, I can't help but be excited. Then get ready to open the door and enter. Su-Yun, be careful. There are bodyguards in the room. If you are crippled by the bodyguards as soon as you open the door, don't blame me for not warning you. Lin Gu was startled. Bodyguards. This is a bit difficult. He wouldn't bring his bodyguards into the room, right? If he really does, it's not surprising. Su-Yun, after all, Ji is a high-ranking official. It's not surprising that he has bodyguards. Bodyguards must be personal protection. Haven't you read Hua Xia's online novels? What the hell? What does this have to do with novels? Lin Gu was speechless. The bodyguards in the online novels have 24-hour service. They have to take care of the beautiful boss's meals and even sleep in the same room. Su-Yun said, that's why the bodyguards or personal security guards in online novels all have a lot of luck. Lin Gu rolled his eyes. Ji is a man. A man needs a bodyguard. Does he need someone to help him when he goes to pee? The bodyguards in the novels are all big bosses, and they are only hired by the female bosses. This chicken is a man, and he is also a national. In the Philippines, I'm afraid there's nothing the president can't enjoy. Su-Yun, nothing is certain. Lin Gu sucked in a breath of cold air. Okay, even if he has a bodyguard, I won't let him trigger the alarm even if I have to die with him. Su-Yun grinned. It's very professional of you to have such awareness. After that, Su-Yun quietly broke the lock and directly opened the door to enter the president's bedroom. This bedroom was really quite luxurious. The scale was comparable to a palace. The huge area was simply extravagant. It was not an easy task to possess all of this. How many corrupt disputes would one have to go through to rule all of this? One failure would mean complete failure. Therefore, Ji must be a cautious person. He probably didn't even speak normally, but he was very careful in everything he did. That was why he saved him. After Lin Gu entered the room, he didn't encounter any fierce bodyguards. There was nothing in the room. The decoration was extraordinarily luxurious. From the sofa to the coffee table and chairs, they were all branded. None of them were bad. The room was also very large. In addition to the living room, there was a bedroom, bathroom, bar, and everything else. In the direction of the bedroom, light snoring could be heard. Lin Gu was relieved. Su-Yun also entered the room carefully and quietly closed the door as if nothing had happened. Brother, I'm afraid he's the only one in the room. There's no one guarding him, Lin Gu said carefully. Find the computer. We have to take all the computers in the room. Soo-yun, don't wake Ah-ji up. If he wakes up, I'm afraid we won't be able to get out. Lin-gu nodded and began to look for the target. Right, if there's no one guarding the room, it means that Ah-ji isn't alone today. Be careful, there's someone on the bed, Soo-yun reminded. Lin-gu nodded as if he suddenly understood. Okay, brother, I understand. While the two of them were rummaging around for the computer, the battle for the patrol team outside the presidential palace had reached its climax. The captain of Team 1 almost exhausted all his means and finally woke the two of them up. The two guys whose minds were blank opened their eyes. After seeing so many people, they were still in a daze. They didn't know what had happened to them at all. They only felt the pain of the mosquito bites on their skin. You two have finally woken up. The captain of Team 1's heart was in his mouth again. The two of them quickly stood up and said to Team 1, Captain. After seeing that the head captain was also there, the two of them didn't dare to look at him. They just said, Hello, head captain. Okay, they're awake. Ask me what you need to ask clearly. After you ask clearly, we can talk about anything. The head captain said, If we don't get to the bottom of this matter today, no one will have a good time. The captain of Team 1 pulled the two of them over and pointed at the captain of Team 2. Speak, tell us everything they did to you. The two guys who had just woken up were confused. What do you mean, Captain? How did the people of Team 2 knock you out? The captain of Team 1 was in a bad mood. The captain of Team 2 sneered. Speak properly. I really want to see what kind of tricks you can come up with. Captain, this has nothing to do with Team 2. The two guys who were knocked unconscious were about to faint again. However, they were awakened by a slap from Team 1. What do you mean? What do you want to do? Are you playing with me? If it wasn't Team 2 who beat you up like this, who else could it be? The two of them were trembling in fear, but they still said something that made all the patrol team members' jaws drop. There are two outsiders in the presidential palace. As soon as this was said, it instantly caused an uproar. No one dared to believe it was true. Team 1's face turned pale, and Team 2's face didn't look any better. The entire scene was dead silent. After a moment of silence, the head captain of the patrol team suddenly roared, Surround the entire presidential palace immediately. From now on, not even a fly can fly out. Everyone began to move, and the entire atmosphere was filled with an inexplicable tension. Soo-yun and Lin-gu finally settled the matter on their side. Lin-gu suddenly raised a notebook. Brother, I found it. Let's go. Soo-yun's order was even more decisive. He wouldn't waste a minute. However, even with Soo-yun's quick judgment, it was still impossible to hide from the guards outside. Everyone was already in trouble, and no one could think of any other way out. Lin-gu clamped the computer and prepared to leave. However, Soo-yun stood at the window and stopped the mission instructions. He could clearly see the scene of a large number of people outside surrounding the presidential palace. Chapter 3181. Lin-gu also carefully poked his head out. When he saw nearly 100 guards outside the door, he was furious. Brother, we really can't get out now. Before they came, Soo-yun had told Lin-gu a problem very seriously. No matter what happened, they couldn't kill anyone here. Once they killed someone, the nature of the matter would be different. With hundreds of people surrounding the two of them, if they couldn't kill anyone, it was impossible to rush out. So the current situation was really quite troublesome. It's best to be careful. We're still wearing the patrol team's uniform. Find a way to blend into the patrol team's search team. Soo-yun said. We absolutely can't make a move. Doing so will only cause more trouble. Although Lin-gu was helpless, he also knew that this was the only way now. No matter what happens, you have to find a way to take the computer out. The things inside are too important. Soo-yun ordered again. Just when the two of them hadn't left Ah-jigue's bedroom, the phone in the room suddenly rang. This midnight ringtone was really frightening. Everyone had seen the story of the ring at midnight. Probably no one wanted to answer the phone in the middle of the night. Ajigue also hated this kind of midnight phone call that disturbed his rest. He was very angry about it. The nameless woman sleeping next to Ajigue got up helplessly and picked up the phone. Her voice was full of tiredness. "Can't you talk about it tomorrow? The president is already resting." "I'm sorry, madam. Sorry for disturbing your rest. But now I have something to say. Someone has sneaked into the presidential palace." When the guard captain said this, his whole voice was trembling. This was a serious dereliction of duty. If it was really investigated, the consequences were simply unimaginable. Ajidai instantly became spirited. He sat up with a shocked expression on his face. When the phone rang, Su Yun and Lin Gu had already sneaked out of the bedroom quietly. They couldn't stay in this troublesome place any longer. "My computer!" Ajigue suddenly screamed. He didn't bother to put on his clothes. He rushed out of bed naked and ran crazily to the desk where the computer was placed. The table was completely blank. Nowadays, such thin and light laptops were too easy to carry around, and stealing them was even easier. At this moment, Ajidai was on the verge of breaking down. His mind was completely blank. If his embezzlement of government funds was found on the computer, his reputation would be ruined. Moreover, there was evidence of many of his dirty deeds on the computer. The reason why he carried this computer with him everywhere he went, even when he was sleeping, was because there were too many unspeakable secrets in it. However, these things were all important. Ajitsai couldn't delete them, nor could he print them out and save them. He could only record them like this. He didn't expect someone to target his computer. Countless images of people flashed through Ajidi's mind. Who was it? Who was it that wanted to mess with him? The other party's target was his laptop. It was obvious that they knew some of his habits. These people were definitely the senators in the Congress. There was no way they would run away. Moreover, if his reputation was ruined, the ones who would benefit the most would be the ones who wanted him dead the most. That was right. Ajidai clenched his fists. It must be those bastards in the vice president's faction. Rule Shuen and those bastards wanted to kill him. In this situation of internal and external troubles, Ajidai was completely on the verge of breaking down. He didn't know how he should solve the current problem. Ajidai rushed to the window and opened it. He didn't even care about his image. He shouted at all the guards outside the window, "You can't let the guy who came in go out alive. My computer. I want my stolen computer in perfect condition. Do you understand?" Ajidai's hysterical shout shocked all the guards in the presidential palace. No one expected Ajidai's anger to come so quickly. The lost computer became a bright spot in everyone's ears. It was already very fortunate that the president was not in trouble. Who would care about a computer? However, Aji Coward cared so much about this computer that people couldn't help but fantasize. After Teacher Chen's computer was tampered with, the things stored in it shocked the entire Hua Xia entertainment circle. If that was the case, he would definitely go crazy over the loss of his computer. The guards were in an uproar. Even the president's sleeping room had been infiltrated. If they couldn't catch the culprit today, they would all be laid off tomorrow. Su Yun and Lin Gu took the laptop and avoided the surveillance cameras while trying their best to avoid the guards. When more and more guards rushed into the presidential palace, Su Yun and Lin Gu had no way of avoiding the guards. They simply took advantage of the chaos and blended into the crowd of guards. All the guards were focused on catching the culprit. Who would bother to check if they knew each other? However, hundreds of people searched the entire presidential palace and didn't find any traces of outsiders. This gave the captain of the guards a headache. He had to catch the culprit today. This was the reason why he could continue to work. If he couldn't catch the culprit, he would be fired tomorrow. There would be no room for explanation. Su Yun and the others had already taken advantage of the chaos to go down to the first floor. They were getting closer and closer to the door. Of course, there were still guards at the door. They couldn't let even a fly out. This was their mission. RG Coward had already put on his clothes and walked out of the room. He couldn't sit still. Computer. Computer. I told you to find my computer. RG Coward's hysterical roar drifted back and forth in the room. Protect the president. The captain of the guards couldn't let the president be exposed in public. RG Coward pushed the people beside him away. If the target was me, I would have died in bed long ago. Do you think it's your turn to protect me? You bunch of trash. What they want is my computer. Find my computer. Find the person with the computer. These words echoed throughout the entire presidential palace. The few guards at the entrance of the presidential palace immediately saw Lin Gu holding a laptop. Lin Gu grinned. He couldn't hide it anymore. Just as the guards beside him howled and pounced forward, Lin Gu threw away the hat in his hand and kicked away the first person who pounced on him. Evacuate immediately. Su Yun ordered Lin Gu. He also took off his patrol uniform and tangled with the few guards beside him. Lin Gu was stunned. Let's go together. I'll cover you. Su Yun, go to the place we agreed on and wait for me. If I don't get there, don't meet with Yoris Schwen, and don't give him the computer. Go quickly. Lin Gu nodded and didn't waste any more time. He believed that Su Yun would definitely have a way to escape. At this moment, the computer was the most important thing. The people downstairs began to call for backup. Everyone realized that the thief was about to leave and swarmed down. Ajitsue was so anxious that he jumped up and down. He couldn't speak clearly. He was the most anxious person now. Once the computer was taken out, he would be reduced to a useless person and a disgraceful bastard. Ever since Ajitsue was lucky enough to become the ruler of a country, he thought that he had to use the absurd extravagance of the former president to contrast and create an effect. That way, he could become the best leader of the country. But in the end, he didn't do anything. As long as everything he had done was leaked out, then he, the president, would become the object of disdain of the next ruler. Thinking of this, Ajitsue felt uneasy. Sitting in his position, he had obtained everything. In the end, it was nothing more than a good reputation. If he lost his reputation in the end, then his life would have been in vain. If the people today escape, all of you will pack up and get lost. Ajitsue roared hysterically. All of you will be sent to the national court for dereliction of duty. I will destroy all of your reputations. All of you. Chapter 3182. Ajigue's roar made the whole scene boil again. It was the highest honor of a soldier to be able to find a job as a guard in Philippines. Not only did they have a living guarantee in this job, but they also had face. Once this news got out, it would be a job that everyone would be envious of. If they lost this job, they might not be able to find a decent job for the rest of their lives. For the sake of honor, for the sake of their reputation, for the sake of their livelihood, and for the sake of their jobs, the 110 guards swarmed over. They went straight for Su Yun and Lin Gu. Lin Gu had already taken the computer and fled in a hurry under the cover of Su Yun. There was a reason why Su Yun did not escape with him. If the two of them left, Ajigué would definitely go crazy and hunt them down in the city. As long as Su Yun was still at the scene, Ajigué would not think so much. Compared to causing a storm in the city, he was more willing to settle the matter in the presidential palace. Hundreds of people had already surrounded Su Yun. Ajigué was very emotional. He believed that no trapped beast could escape from his presidential palace. Seeing that the guards had taken out their weapons and were ready to shoot Su Yun into a hornet's nest, Ajigué suddenly gave another order. Capture him alive. I want to capture him alive. Ajigué wanted to know who had sent them to steal the computer. The contents of the computer were so important to him. Who was the person who wanted to kill him? Although Su Yun was expressionless, he could not help but laugh in his heart. If so many people had really shot at him just now, he might have been shot and injured. After all, there was not much cover in the rain of bullets. Even if he had the ability of the great sage, it would be difficult to guarantee that he could escape unscathed. But it was different now. Ajigue wanted him alive, so his subordinates were limited. They could not kill Su Yun. In this way, Su Yun had a lot more autonomy. Anyway, these guards would not shoot. Su Yun did not care about anything else and directly took action. The more he delayed, the more confident Lin Guo would be. When Chiki saw that Su Yun still dared to take the initiative to attack, he became hysterical. Go! Charge! The battle between 100 people was extremely chaotic, and Aji was unable to clearly see what was happening from the second floor. Su Yun's figure was like a ray of light that no one could catch. Even though there were so many people and hundreds of arms streaking past him, no one could touch him. While dodging with ease, Su Yun didn't stay idle. His punches and kicks were all aimed at the vital points. None of those who were hit by Su Yun could stand up again. The fewer people there were, the less Su Yun's stamina would be consumed. Su Yun did not dare to waste too much time with them. If he was really injured by some lucky bastard, he would not be able to complain about it. Where's the computer? Chiki suddenly realized a problem. He only saw Su Yun's figure fighting in all directions, but the guy who took the computer was gone. No one in the guards cared about what Chiki was thinking at the moment. There was only one thought in everyone's mind, and that was to kill Su Yun. As long as they could take down Su Yun, today's matter would be considered a complete success. Perhaps the person who took down Su Yun in the end would receive the supreme reward. Therefore, everyone's eyes were bloodshot. Even if their companions were defeated by Su Yun in front of them, they rushed forward one after another without any hesitation. They were all crazy. Su Yun was a little helpless. I want you to catch the person who stole my computer. Chiki shouted hysterically. But now, his roar had completely disappeared into everyone's ears. No one thought too much about what Ajigue was shouting about. They all thought that it was the president venting his anger, so they didn't dare to be negligent. Fight for the president. Fight for the country. The captain of the guards cheered all the soldiers at the back. Chiki looked at him as if he was looking at an idiot. What the hell are you doing, you bastard? Chiki was trembling with anger. Suddenly, his body twitched violently, and he fell to the ground with a thud. With this fall, his entire face fell to the ground. It was a very messy fall. Half of his ugly front teeth were chipped off, and his nose collapsed. Chiki, whose heart was blocked, fainted in anger. The guards and Su Yun were fighting fiercely. No one cared whether Chiki was unconscious or not. Su Yun was not careless at all when he attacked. He overturned a few guards in front of him with a total annihilation. Then, he supported himself with his hands on the ground and rotated his wrists. His legs were like the wind, and he kicked a few guards behind him away with bloody fighting in all directions. The more Su Yun fought, the braver he became. His entire spirit was lifted. The guards could only capture him alive under Chiki's orders. They could not use their guns even if they had them. Each of them was beaten to a pulp like human sandbags. It was unbearable. Finally, someone noticed that Chiki had fainted and immediately reported it to the captain of the guards. The captain of the guards was terrified. He had to command the battle and arrange for people to contact the medical team for emergency treatment. Just as he was panicking, Su Yun suddenly appeared in front of him. Before the captain of the guards could shout, Su Yun's huge fist completely knocked him to the ground. Without a leader, the guards were in a mess. The captains of several small teams fought for their own merits. No one cared about the lives of others. They tried their best to be first. However, they were all knocked to the ground by Su Yun in their eagerness for quick success. When the guards completely lost their leader, things became much more interesting. Su Yun escaped easily. The dozens of people did not know whether they should chase after him or not. Without the orders of their commanding officer, no one dared to act recklessly. The duty of the guards was to guard the presidential palace and protect the safety of the presidential palace. Attacking without authorization was a serious dereliction of duty. In this dilemma, most people chose to remain silent. At least they would not be caught by others if they stayed. They did not fail in their duties. At this time, No one wanted to be a hero in the limelight. The hunter would shoot the bird that stood out. If they could catch him and bring him back, there might be a chance of survival. If they did not catch him and he went out without authorization, there would be some trouble in the presidential palace. Then, they would really have no place to cry. After Su Yun left the presidential palace, he quickly disappeared into the darkness. So many people had surrounded him in this place, but they had not been able to catch him. It would be even more impossible to catch him if he went out now. No one was an idiot. Everyone silently sat down and waited for their leader's new orders. Even if this decision was wrong, the law could not punish the majority. They would not all lose their jobs, right? The medical team immediately brought Ajigue back to his room. The woman in his room looked as if nothing had happened. She looked at everything around her with a relaxed smile. Ajigue was carried to the bed. Someone prepared oxygen, and someone began to wash the bloodstains on his face. In short, Ajigue was now being treated here and there without any consciousness. After about 10 minutes of treatment, Ajigue suddenly turned over and sat up. He took a deep breath of oxygen. His eyes were almost bloodshot. Ajigue ignored the medical staff's advice. He tore off all the equipment on his body and stood up trembling. "Where is he? Did you catch him?" Ajigue grabbed his personal doctor. The doctor shook his head in horror. Mr. President, I don't know anything else. Your current physical condition is very bad. I think you need to rest. Don't talk nonsense." Ajigue stared and said, "I know my own physical condition. I just want to know if that guy has been caught." "I don't know. I really don't know." The doctor shook his head quickly. Ajigue pushed him away and staggered to the door. All the medical team members were dumbfounded. No one dared to say anything. Clang. Ajigue pulled the door open. His face was full of horror and nervousness, but there was also a trace of expectation. He expected that his people would give him good news. He was nervous and frightened that the good news was just his imagination. "Where is he? Captain of the Guards. Get your ass over here right now." Chicken Coward shouted hysterically. The captain of the guards had just woken up. His face was bruised by Su Yun, and his head was still dizzy. When he heard the shout, he did not dare to delay. He quickly rushed to Ajigue's room. He knew that his career was coming to an end. He knew that everything he had would be destroyed. "Where is the person I want you to catch? Where is he? Bring him back here for me. Bring my computer back to me." A coward was still shouting hysterically. The echoes of his shouting echoed throughout the entire presidential palace. No one dared to say anything. They all sat quietly, waiting for the president to fly into a rage. Everything that happened tonight was like a sudden dream. Everyone was caught off guard and did not know whether to laugh or cry. The captain of the guards walked in front of Ajigue in panic and fell to the ground directly. Chapter 3183. Ajidai pounced forward in a kneeling manner and helped the guard captain up. His face was ashen, and his expression was full of expectation. His voice was trembling and hoarse. Where is he? Is he locked up? Have you found my things? My computer. My computer. Get someone to bring it back to me immediately." Beads of sweat the size of beans appeared on the guard captain's forehead and rolled down his forehead. Mr. President, No, it's the other party. The other party is too strong. It's not something we can control." Ajigue's expression changed. "What do you mean? Make yourself clear." "We didn't catch him. He escaped." After the guard captain finished speaking, he lowered his head heavily. They knew Ajigue's temper too well. He was temperamental. Once he got angry, he didn't know how to deal with it. However, to the guard captain's surprise, Ajigue was out of character. Not only was he not angry, but he was completely silent. A few seconds later, Ajigue sat on the ground. His eyes were empty and lifeless. He muttered, "It's over. It's all over now. It's all over. President, we will find a way to catch him. Your health is the most important thing." The guard captain was still thinking about how to flatter him. He didn't want to ruin everything he had now because of this incident. It was not easy to become the captain of the Philippine Guard Force. "I want my computer. I don't want anything. I just want my computer." Ajigue's voice was so weak that he couldn't even hear himself clearly. The guard captain's expression was as ugly as it could be. He didn't know how to comfort the poor president in front of him. Ajigue kept shaking his head. He couldn't believe that something like this would happen tonight. He couldn't believe that everything he had would be ruined overnight. What could he do even if he caught the person now? Time had passed, and he didn't even know where the computer was. The other party's goal was so clear. They wanted to take him down. Damn it! Ajigue cursed in his heart. "Mr. President, your health is the most important thing. The doctors are worried. Please go back and receive treatment." He also needed treatment now. His mind was still in a mess, as if a lot of paste had been poured into it. Ajidai shook his head with a bitter smile. If his shameful deeds were exposed, what else could he do? If he couldn't even be the president, how could he still have the face to seek treatment? He might as well die in this place. No. At this moment, Chicken Coward could not give up on himself. He had to make up for everything. Yes. He wanted to turn the tide. Who was it that wanted him to step down? Countless images of people appeared in Arjidi's mind. He thought of all the people who could benefit from him stepping down. Finally, he thought of one person. Yes. It was that guy. It was Jolshwin. Although RG also suspected that it was the vice president and a few other people, because his downfall would also give them a chance to rise to the top. But even if he didn't step down, it wouldn't affect the interests of those people, so they didn't need to take the risk. Once this risk failed, it meant that everything they had in their hands would be destroyed. Therefore, they couldn't take the risk to do such a thing. But Jolshwin was different. Chicken Coward had already expressed his intention to take over all of Jolshwin's power many times. Moreover, he had repeatedly wanted to target Jolshwin's cloud casino. It was impossible for Jolshwin not to notice these things. It could be said that as long as Chicken Coward was still in office, Jolshwin could be finished at any time. Jolshwin could lose everything at any time. Therefore, if Chicken Coward was finished, Jolshwin's interests would be the greatest. Not only would he be able to get more support by overthrowing everything he had, but he would also be able to protect everything he had now. If it were Chicken Coward would also go all out and risk his life to do this. Jolshwin, you Jolshwin. How could he be so audacious? Chicken Coward gritted his teeth in hatred, but he really didn't dare to act rashly now. After all, his computer had been stolen. If it really fell into Jolshwin's hands, then Jolshwin could use it to threaten him at any time. If Jolshwin was even more ruthless, he could even directly throw the information in the computer to the media. In today's society, the development of the internet was so terrifying. Once this kind of weakness was exposed, he would be completely finished. What turning the tide? Bull ****. He didn't have any chance at all. Chicken Coward took a deep breath, stood up with trembling legs, and walked step by step toward the study. The guard captain tried to follow, but Chicken Coward turned his head and looked at him without any anger. He said casually, "Get lost. Don't let me see you again." After saying that, Chicken Coward walked to the study, leaving the guard captain alone to stare. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and his heart was filled with despair. It was over. Everything was over. A person who would get angry at the slightest thing was actually speaking to him in such a calm tone. What did this mean? It meant that this person had completely lost confidence in him. The guard captain suddenly realized that his career was completely over. For a moment, tears welled up in his eyes. This kind of grievance in his heart was unbearable for him. He had been the captain of the guards for so many years, and he had always been loyal. Who would have thought that something like this would happen today? Moreover, the guy who appeared today was too scary. Even if the special forces of the Philippines were here tonight, they would not be able to catch him. The grievance made this man choke with sobs. He slumped against the wall alone and didn't say a word. He could only pray that everything would take a turn for the better. He could only pray that the president's computer would suddenly be returned intact. If that was the case, he might still have a chance. At least, he felt that with his years of hard work, the president wouldn't completely make him lose his job. Even if he was demoted, even if he was made a guard, or was made to guard the entrance of the presidential palace, he couldn't be kicked out. If he was kicked out, there would be nothing left. He wouldn't even have a chance to turn things around. Chicken Coward's legs seemed to be filled with lead as he slowly walked into the study. The moment he sat down and picked up the phone, his entire soul was trembling. Over the past 2 years, because of his position and interests, he had barely smiled at Jolshwin. Now that something had happened, it was his turn to lower his head. He really didn't know what Jolshwin would do to him. In the end, for the sake of his reputation, Chicken Coward had no choice but to lower his head and make the call. One could imagine how surprised Jolshwin was when he received a call from the presidential palace in the middle of the night. "President, it's already so late. What can I do for you?" After Jolshwin picked up the phone, he was as polite as usual. In the past, when Jolshwin was so polite, Chicken Coward felt that it was only right. He felt that Jolshwin was afraid of his authority, so he was respectful. However, it was different today. Chicken Coward felt that Jolshwin was doing it on purpose. He was deliberately lowering his status and putting on an act for him to see. Although Ajigue's heart was filled with anger and irritation, when he opened his mouth, everything disappeared. "Yoris Sherwen, in the past 2 years, there are many things that I haven't done well enough. I wish to apologize to you. I hope you can accept it." Jolshwin was stunned. He held the phone and didn't know what to say. "I know that I must have disturbed you by calling you so late, but I still hope that you can give me a chance." Chicken Coward's voice was very calm. It was so calm that it was unbelievable. Jolshwin was really flattered. "President, what do you mean by this? You called me so late at night to tell me this. I really don't feel confident at all." Although he said that, Jolshwin's heart was definitely blooming at this moment. He knew very well what this meant. Su-Yun and the others must have succeeded. It must be. Otherwise, why would a chicken shit call him in such a lowly manner? Rua Sherwan admired Aji's cowardice for being able to guess who it was that wanted to make things difficult for him in the first place. Chapter 3184. Ajigue smiled bitterly. "There's no need to continue pretending between the two of us. Today's matter has already happened. I only hope that we can be honest with each other for once." Jolshwin hurriedly said, "President, your words really scared me. I've always been honest with you. There's absolutely nothing to hide." "I know. You won today's matter. Can I admit that you won?" Ajigue said, "I've admitted everything. Just give me a chance." Yoris Shwen continued to feign ignorance. "I really don't know what you're talking about. If you can give me a hint, I might be able to figure out what you're talking about. But now, I really don't understand what you're talking about. Mr. President, please don't make things difficult for me, okay? At least let me know what you want to say to me, right?" Ajigue took a deep breath. If it was any other day, he would have already flipped out. No one had ever been able to control him like this. That was because he had never had any weaknesses that could be used against him before. But now, someone had caught onto his weakness, and he was suffering unspeakably. "Are you blaming me for not saying sorry to you?" Ajigue suppressed his anger. "Okay, I'm sorry. I'll say sorry to you." No. "President, you'll shorten my life." Jolshwin shook his head. "How can I dare to accept your apology? Then what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do to make you forgive me?" Jigue was a little impatient. When Jolshuen heard this, he was a little unhappy in his heart. But now that Jigue was the weaker party, Jolshuen did not care so much. You're not wrong. Why should I forgive you? If you must ask me to forgive you for something, then at least tell me what it is that I need to forgive you for. Jigue took a breath of cold air. This damn Jolshuen. Even now, he was still playing this game with him. It was really abominable. Okay. Since you're determined to make me admit it personally, then I'll say it. As long as you return my lost computer to me, everything will go smoothly for you in the future. Jigue said, everything you want, the power you want, anything you propose, I will support you unconditionally. Jolshuen suppressed the excitement in his heart and tried his best not to sound too excited. President, I don't understand what you're saying. How could your computer be in my hands? Jolshuen said, I don't remember ever borrowing anything from you, President, let alone something as private as a computer. Jidai's face turned even paler. Did you remember the wrong person? Jolshuen continued, President, I think it's better not to lend a computer to anyone because no one can guarantee that there won't be anything that can't be seen in their computer. Jidu's face was ashen. Rualai Sherwin, are you determined to go against me? I'm sorry, Mr. President. I don't understand what you mean. I've always supported you. Jolshuen said, it's you who has been trying to kick me out again and again. I don't understand how I offended you, Mr. President. Good. Jidu said good 3 times in a row. No matter what I did to you, I now solemnly apologize to you and promise that I will never do it again. Isn't my guarantee enough? Mr. President, you really want to kill me? Jolshuen shook his head and smiled bitterly. I really don't know what you mean. I beg you, don't put pressure on me. Don't talk nonsense. Since I called you today, I know that the person who came today must be your people. Jidu said, what do you want? Jolshuen didn't dare to talk nonsense. A phone recording could ruin a person's reputation. Mr. President, I really don't know what you mean. Well, you don't dare to say it, do you? Jidu said, are you worried that I'll record it? No. Don't worry. I won't do that kind of thing now. I don't want both of us to suffer. I hope that we can both get what we need. I still don't know what you mean, President. Jolshuen said, if there's anything wrong with my work, I hope you can give me some advice. I'll accept it humbly. Really? Jidu gritted his teeth in hatred. Wait for me. I'll prepare a car to find you now. After saying this, Jidu didn't even give Jolshuen a chance to explain and hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, Jidu's legs seemed to be no longer weak. He quickened his pace and walked out of the study. He shouted to the captain of the guards who was still immersed in grief, arrange a car for me immediately. Arrange for people. I want to see Jolshuen. Tell the guards to surround Jolshuen's residence as soon as possible. As soon as the captain of the guards heard the order, he was rejuvenated again. The president gave him an order again. This was the best for him. Yes. The captain of the guards rushed downstairs. He was no longer dizzy, and his legs were no longer weak. It was as if he had drunk hundreds of energy drinks. Jidu hurried back to his dormitory. The doctors were still waiting foolishly. After seeing Jidu's current state of mind, they were relieved. The president seemed to have completely recovered. Jidu's heart was in his throat. He didn't have the time to check his body. All of you, get out of here. Hurry up and get out. My body is very good. I haven't fallen to the point where I have to rely on you to survive. Jidu chased the medical team away as he used the fastest time to put on his suit. After all, he was the president. His identity and image were very important. Even if he went out in the middle of the night, he had to dress up. Otherwise, people would think that he was a middle-aged man who had fallen from grace. After Jidu put on his clothes, the captain of the guards had already arranged a car waiting outside the door. The guards had already surrounded Jolshuen's house in advance. Right now, Joel Squin's mood was as high as the sky. Although Su Yun hadn't contacted him yet, Ji-doo's phone call had already explained everything. Joel Squin asked someone to pour him a glass of champagne and sat comfortably on the sofa. What he needed to do now was wait for Su Yun's call. After drinking a glass of champagne, Joel Squin didn't receive a call from Su Yun. Instead, the guards of the presidential palace arrived. More than a dozen cars surrounded his house. His subordinates were a little inarticulate when they reported the situation. They were probably frightened by the situation. Joel Squin didn't expect Ji-doo to make such a big fuss. Since the accident had already happened, he couldn't do anything about it. Ji-doo was really a ruthless person. He sent troops without saying anything. This didn't fit the routine at all. After all, they were all people of status. If he did this, the risk was too great. However, Joel Squin didn't feel anxious at all. The more Ji-doo panicked, the more it meant that the information in the computer was valuable and precious. At this moment, Joel Squin was 100% sure that there was evidence in the computer that could completely destroy Ji-doo. He had been running a casino for so many years, and this was the most satisfying bet he had ever made. Ji-doo, as long as you dare to come, I won't be afraid of you. Joel Squin thought to himself as he lit a cigar. He really wanted to play a game of chess with Ji-doo. He wanted to see who would win and who would lose after this game of chess. All of Joel Squin's subordinates were panicking, but Joel Squin was incomparably calm. He had Ji-doo's dangerous weakness in his hands. What could Ji-doo do to him? What a joke. The person who was the most panicked now wasn't Joel Squin, but Ji-doo. Go back to what you're supposed to do. Don't be so flustered. Joel Squin scolded angrily. How did I teach you on a daily basis? You don't have to be afraid of anyone when you work with me. Do you understand? Even if the president comes, you don't have to worry at all. That's because you're working for me, Yoris Schwen. Do you understand? Yes. All of Joel Squin's subordinates were shocked by Joel Squin's imposing manner. No one expected Joel Squin to be so confident this time. Chapter 3185. Joel Squin had only taken a few puffs of his cigar when Ji-gue rushed over with his guard captain and bodyguards. At this moment, the door to Joel Squin's house was already wide open. It was as if the door was always open and Joel Squin was always welcome. Joel Squin was leisurely smoking a cigar as he waited for this coward to come. Ji-gue hurried over to Joel Squin's house. When he saw Joel Squin leisurely smoking his cigar in the living room, he had the urge to kill this bastard. Welcome, President. Your presence brings light to my humble dwelling. Joel Squin stood up and greeted him with a smile. It's just that it's too late now. Haha, you're really energetic. I can't do that. If I don't rely on my cigar, I won't be able to open my eyes at this hour. Ji-gue did not have the time to argue with Joel Squin. After giving the guard captain a look, the guard captain immediately rushed into each room with a dozen people. When Joel Squin's subordinates saw this, they did not know whether they should stop them or not. However, when they saw that Joel Squin did not react, they obediently stood where they were. Come, give Mr. President a cigar. I can see that he doesn't look too good. Joel Squin smiled. Ji-gue was expressionless. No need. Although my cigar is not as good as the one you usually enjoy, this is the best handmade cigar I can buy. Joel Squin said, please try it. It's my honor. Joel Squin, there's really no need for you to beat around the bush. You know better than me why I'm here, Ji-gue said coldly. Joel Squin nodded. Mr. President just told me that you're looking for your computer. You can look for it here. You can even take all my computers as long as you like it. Ji-gue's face twitched. You think I don't dare? Of course I don't think so. Joel Squin shook his head. You're the president. Everything in this country is managed by you. Of course you can do whatever you want. Then don't talk nonsense with me. Ji snorted heavily. Joel Squin continued to smoke his cigar. Mr. President, it's really okay. There's nothing on my computer that can't be seen. You can just take it away. When he heard Jolshwin's insinuations, Ajidai was so angry that he lost the demeanor a president should have. He kicked Jolshwin's coffee table several centimeters away. The coffee table was made of mahogany and was quite heavy. Usually, it would take 4 people to move it. Ajidu had used all his strength to kick it and almost sprained his ankle. Ajidai's ankle hurt so much that he staggered when he landed. Someone, take this table out and throw it away. It almost hurt Mr. President's foot. Jolshwin scolded angrily. His subordinates were all dumbfounded. They did not know if they should really do as they were told, or if Raishwen just wanted to mock Aji for being a coward. Aji waved his hand and said, "Don't put on an act in front of me. I know better than you what you're thinking. You don't have to be prejudiced against me all the time. I really hope that we can sit down and have a good chat." Jolshwin said, "Give me a chance, okay?" "You mean I should beg you now?" Ajidai gritted his teeth and said. At this time, the guards came out of the room that they were searching. They really took out all the laptops in Jolshwin's house. When more than a dozen laptops were placed in front of Ajidai, Ajidai's anger rose again. None of them were his own laptops. "Where on earth did you let that person take my laptop?" Ajidai's voice trembled. Although he was questioning, the fear in his heart showed. "Jolshwin, don't force me." Jolshwin shook his head firmly. "Mr. President, you're forcing me now." "Guards," Ajidai said angrily. "Give me a gun." The guards took out their guns without saying a word and handed them directly to Ajidai. Ajidai skillfully loaded the bullet and pointed it directly between Jolshwin's eyebrows. Jolshwin was not afraid. He was also worried that Ajidai, who was desperate, would really shoot him. But now, he had no way out. He had already embarked on this path. This was a path where he gambled with his life. If he admitted defeat at any time, he would lose his life. "If you don't want me to live, then you won't live either. The two of us will die together today." Ajidai howled. "If you want me to lose my reputation, I don't care about the crime of murdering you." Looking at the almost crazy Ajidai, the captain of the guards was so scared that he quickly took a few steps back. He could not understand why the president suddenly became like this. "If you want to shoot, I have nothing to say. Consider me unlucky." Jolshwin tried to calm himself down. "But think about it. As long as you shoot, there will be no turning back. Call your people and ask them to bring me the computer. I'll spare your life today." Ajidai roared hysterically. He did not care if others heard him. Jolshwin gritted his teeth. "I don't know what you want. I don't have what you want. I'll kill you." Ajidai suddenly raised his gun and pointed it at the ceiling. Bang! 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 3 shots were fired. When the hot muzzle of the gun was pointed between Jolshwin's eyebrows again, Jolshwin's heart trembled. Once the trigger was pulled for the first time, it was very difficult to control the desire to continue pulling the trigger. Anyone who had shot a gun before knew that it was a kind of addiction. If they didn't empty the bullets in the magazine, it would always make people feel like they hadn't had enough. Clearly, the captain of the guard's gun had more than 3 bullets. The remaining bullets were enough to blast Jolshwin's head into mush. But in the end, Ajigue held himself back. His trembling finger was still on the trigger. "Jolshwin, I'll give you one last chance. If you still refuse to admit it, then next year at this time, wait for your mud-like son to pay his respects to you at your grave. President, if you still cannot calm down, you will personally ruin everything." Jolshwin took a deep breath. "I am not joking with you." "That is right, Mr. President. You must calm down." The captain of the guards knew that if something were to happen, he would be held responsible. This could all be a misunderstanding. I believe that Mr. Jolshwin would not do something so stupid. Ajidai suddenly turned his gun around and pointed it at the captain. "Then tell me, other than him, who else wants to get the things on my computer? Tell me, who else?" The captain of the guards quickly moved away from the muzzle of the gun. His voice trembled as he explained, "Mr. President, please don't get agitated. Please don't get agitated. I promise, I will do my best to find what you have lost. You piece of trash. You actually let someone into the presidential palace. Our Jedi wanted to kill everyone in the guards." At that moment, Jolshwin really hoped that a Jedi would shoot and kill someone in a fit of anger. He was a living witness. If our Jedi killed someone in front of him, he could even take our Jedi down on the spot. Although our Jedi was impulsive, he was not a fool. He would rather kill Jolshwin with a bullet than let Jolshwin have a new handle on him. "President, you really should calm down." Jolshwin tried to ease the atmosphere. After all, our Jedi had a gun and bullets in his hands. It was very dangerous. "I will fully cooperate and help you catch the guy who stole your computer. I promise." "Your promise is worthless." Our Jedi's eyes were bloodshot. "Let me tell you, Jolshwin, if you want to mess with me, I will not let you have an easy time." "Why would I mess with you?" Jolshwin still shook his head in denial. Our Jedi pointed at all of Jolshwin's computers and said to the guards under him, "Take all of these computers away." Jolshwin smiled slightly. "Go ahead. I don't believe that you don't have anything shameful." Our Jedi threw the gun to the captain of the guards. Only then did the captain of the guards feel relieved. Of course, Jolshwin had something shameful. However, there was really nothing on his computer at home. He was not afraid of being investigated at all. "Then I hope Mr. President will check carefully." Chapter 3186. In the end, he could only give up. Taking the computer information that he thought he could find out something, he flung his sleeves and left. Along the way, Ajaisi's mind was in a mess. The thing he was most worried about had finally happened. There was all the information about the Priority Development Assistance Fund in the computer. Tens of billions of Philippine pesos were all dirty things that Ajaisi did to bribe members of Congress. At this moment, Su Yun and Lin Gu had already sat down at a KFC fast food restaurant. Although Su Yun and Lin Gu were not top computer experts, it was still easy for them to crack the computer password. When the two entered the computer system, Lin Gu was a little surprised. Ajaisi was too careless. He didn't take his computer seriously at all. It was too easy to crack. After entering the computer system, Su Yun began to quickly understand the content inside. Soon, a very strange folder name caught Su Yun's attention: pork barrel. What did the president have to do with pork barrel? No matter how he looked at it, it felt like a salary record made by a person who carried swill. Su Yun opened the folder curiously. Some of the information and data inside instantly made Su Yun awake in the middle of the night. It was more exciting than drinking a ton of coffee. The content of this so-called pork barrel was quite explosive. It had nothing to do with swill. It was something called PDAF. To put it bluntly, it was a kind of Priority Development Assistance Fund. It was something that the Philippines allocated to members of Congress. It was a fund with a certain degree of autonomy. This thing could be said to be established very early. It allowed members of Congress to fund small-scale infrastructure or community projects that were not within the scope of national infrastructure projects. Since a few years ago, each member of the House of Representatives had received 70 million pesos through this Priority Development Assistance Fund every year. Each senator could receive 200 million pesos. This funding, which was originally used to open a green channel for small-scale projects, had become the largest source of corruption in recent years after Ajaisi took office. The phenomenon of corrupt politicians using this funding to collect kickbacks was endless. It even formed a chain of interests composed of government agencies, project contractors, fake non-profit organizations, and audit departments. These things were all under Ajitsue's control and under Ajitsue's eyes. According to the records in this document, a businesswoman used the Priority Development Assistance Fund to help Aji make money. There was evidence in Ajitsue's computer files that this businesswoman had set up many ghost projects and more than 20 shell organizations to help Ajitsue obtain government funds. Moreover, according to the records in the computer, after the funds were injected into the fake project, the businesswoman and Ajigue would split the profits proportionally. How much King money is that? Brother, if this is all cash, Aji's house must be piled up into a mountain of money. Lin Guo was dumbfounded. The corruption in the Philippines is really boundless. As he continued reading, even Su Yun was shocked. This was because this was not just a dirty affair between Agino and this businesswoman. There were too many dirty things involved in this. He saw a detailed list of people involved in this matter. The list involved more than 20 former or current senators and hundreds of representatives. Among them were Aquino's close associates. What did this mean? The biggest parasite in this country was actually one of their biggest leaders. It was simply ridiculous. This Ajitsue is really a pork barrel king. Lin Gu shook his head. There is also a government project spending acceleration program introduced by Ajitsue. It was to bribe officials. The number of senators who abused the Priority Development Assistance Fund is not a small number. This is really terrifying. However, to my surprise, Jolshwin is not among them. It seems that the two of them really don't get along at all. Su Yun shook his head. Ajitsue doesn't like him. He definitely won't let him make this money. Lin Gu said, no wonder Jolshwin hates Ajitsue so much. This guy makes him lose a lot of money every year. I'm afraid Jolshwin doesn't care about this amount of money. He's afraid that his casino will be taken away by Ajitsue. Su Yun knew Jolshwin too well. Brother, don't you think this coward Aji is really scheming? He actually came up with such a plan to gather the funds saved by each department every year and allocate them to projects that they think are in urgent need of funds. Lin Gu said, this project can be done casually. Su Yun nodded. The corruption is simply to the bone. Generally speaking, for this kind of national fund, every appropriation would be announced to the world. However, Ajitsue's plan had neither announcement nor photos of the president and the relevant departments. Everything was done in secret. This was too suspicious. It was obvious that the government deliberately cut expenses to free up the surplus, and then avoided the oversight of the House of Representatives under Ajitsue's means. Therefore, ordinary people would not dare to think about how much money fell into Ajitsue's hands. There must be a lot of people who suspect Ajitsue. For example, Jolshwin can be sure that Ajitsue used this method to embezzle money. Su Yun said, but Jolshwin's suspicions are limited, and it's hard to find evidence. Now, it's common for the president to personally manipulate these things in the Philippines. How can Jolshwin overturn this? Lin Gu pursed his lips. No wonder Jolshwin is so eager to get Ajitsue's computer. Su Yun nodded. Prioritizing development aid funds. It's a beautiful idea. Unexpectedly, it provides a new channel for the greedy politicians to make extra money. With a flexible discretion in his hands, Ajigue only needed to collude with the illegal businessmen with his trusted subordinates around him, and through such means as fake projects and fake non-governmental organizations and foundations, he could easily make a lot of money. Why did the people of the Philippines have to suffer so much? It was because Ajitsue had single-handedly created the biggest hotbed for corruption in the Philippines. Who would have thought that Ajitsue, who had always prided himself on being honest, was also such a person? Ajitsue had always been an anti-corruption crusader in the hearts of the people, and he had also used this opportunity to attack his political opponents. Now, it seemed that Ajitsue was also extremely ridiculous. Not only did he use the prioritizing development aid funds for himself, but he also created a government project spending acceleration program similar to the prioritizing development aid funds. In addition, there was another incident in Ajitsue's computer that was enough to ruin his reputation. That was the matter of the Philippines police arresting terrorists in a town in the south. In the process of this incident, because they were besieged by militants for a long time, more than 40 special police officers were killed. One could imagine how bad the special police officers in the Philippines were. The commander-in-chief of this incident was Ajitsue. The information in Ajitsue's computer showed that Ajitsue knew that the action plan was flawed, but he still bypassed the police chain of command to approve the action plan. It could be said that the death of more than 40 special police officers in the Philippines was completely related to Ajitsue. The reason why there were so many casualties was because of his uselessness as the president. Ajitsue should be held criminally responsible for his participation in the planning of the action. However, because of his identity, he covered up everything, but Ajitsue's bad habit made him record all his mistakes. In this day and age, not many people would write diaries, but Ajitsue actually wrote an electronic diary. There were too many secrets in it, from how he embezzled hundreds of millions of huge national funds to how he found a new woman. Everything that Ajitsue did after he became the president was recorded in this electronic diary. Speaking of which, this person was also pitiful. If Ajitsue did not write these things down, he would not be able to sleep. He needed to write these things down to make himself feel at ease. Otherwise, he would not be able to feel at ease and sleep would be a nightmare. Every day, he would be restless, thinking about how to fool his own people. This kind of person as the president was a disaster for the Philippines. There were also records in the diary that every time he was in danger and was afraid of being noticed by the people, he would throw a few stones at Hua Xia. There was also a big reason why he provoked Hua Xia. He constantly slandered Hua Xia and made the people feel disgusted with Hua Xia. This way, the attention would be diverted from him. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.